The City Council meeting to order. Today is August 4th, 2025, and with that, the invocation, Pastor David Butler from Faith Assembly Christian Church. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Shall we pray, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you that, first of all, that you are the Lord over our city. We ask for your presence this hour, for your blessings, and to help us as we are gathered here. With this month bringing potential greater threats of storms, we ask for your divine protection. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand regarding our wonderful city, and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with the spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel. Help us to work together and to encourage one another for the spirit of excellence. We ask that we could challenge each other to reach higher and farther to be the best citizens we can possibly be. We ask all of this in the name of our Lord. And now the blessing is this: may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he give you his peace. Amen.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Aber with the pledge, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me with your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that little housekeeping. If you could please silence or turn your phones to vibrate, we would appreciate that. And with that, I will entertain an agenda approval, and I hear that we have a couple of things we want to shift around a little bit.
Mayor, I'd like to move up 4E and 6D up to be right after the consent agenda, and then I would also like to remove 4B from the agenda.
All right, so we're crossing 4B, moving up 4E, and your Park Foundation update, 6D. Anything else?
On the consent agenda, I'd like to just have a brief discussion of our concrete continuing services contract.
All right, so we'll pull 3B, is that correct? Mm-hmm. All right, anything else? Seeing none with
Motion
those.
to approve.
Thank you.
As amended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second as amended. Seeing no further discussions, call the vote. Yep. Uh-oh.
Yes. It's black. The screen is black. I can't get it moving.
IT.
All right, there we go. 7-0, so moved. A little bit of IT issues in between. All right, with that, no proclamations or recognitions tonight, so we'll move on to the public comments. I'll start on my right, y'all's left. Anything that does not have to do with the public hearings on the 5A through C, you're more than welcome. 3 minutes. I just need your name and address. Mr. Wampler. You're here for the splash pad?
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Ken Wampler, 710 Beach Drive. Here to talk about 4A. Obviously, it's a foregone conclusion that the ordinance passed, and now you're just talking about the fees relative to the condos, short-term vacation rental. I see your proposed fee schedule. At this point, I would simply ask that you reflect back on yourself as to what the city actually has to do for condos, and if you, at a minimum, could maybe start at 150, which is what the short-term vacation rental registration fee was back before we started increasing it for the homes and the townhomes. I think that would be a fair and reasonable way to start, since that's what we started at the homes. I won't restate all the things I've said many times, because I know the ordinance is going to pass, the fees are going to pass. It's just a matter of what the fees are going to be. So,
all right, thank you for being here. Appreciate the insight. All right. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comments, and we will go into the 3B polled consent agenda. Councilman Destin, would you like to take this one?
Yes, sir. On reviewing the increases in that contract, I understand prices have gone up. Some of them are pretty substantial, doubling and tripling. At what point, the question is, do we put it back out for bid?
City manager?
I know Michael's
Larry?
taking a look at that right now, but I would suspect that we could do that at most any time. But we can certainly review that contract to see if there are termination clauses in it. Okay.
Okay, and what's the
Ken?
the
The
termination?
contract does have termination for convenience in it. So all we have to do is give the notice period required, which is not very much, I don't think. We have to give them 5 days' notice.
So if we think that that's the thing to do, should we bother to renew it tonight? Seems a little redundant.
Not have to, these renewals do not have to be done.
Mr. Burgess, any logistics on that?
Yeah, this is not a contract renewal. This is just a change to the Exhibit A from within the existing contract. We did an adjustment back in 2023 because concrete prices had increased, and they've increased even more recently. The original contract was 2021, so we should go back out in FY '26 for a new continuing services contract for concrete services.
And I understand it's not a contract renewal, but the
But the city
prices,
council can terminate the contract with 5 days' notice at any time and does not have to give them any increase.
I understand. By the same token, there are a lot of increases, and we did increase it in '23. Some of them are substantial. Some of them make me a little uncomfortable that we would agree to those increases without going to bid. I'll make a motion that we table this issue till the next
Till?
meeting.
All right, I got a motion with a date.
I'll second that.
All right, with a motion and a second, no further discussions. I'll call the vote. It's a tabled.
You already vote?
Sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
There's-
Oh,
there's no
I'm sorry,
discussion on the
we
table.
already made the motion in a second.
Yep, sorry. Yep. With a tabled, Robert's rules does not require learning one at a time, one rule at a time. Yeah.
Make people comfortable, I'll just motion to move it to the next agenda.
Okay. All right, Councilman Destin has substituted his motion to move it to the next agenda.
I'll agree to that and second it.
All right, with that, Councilman Bagby.
I agree with what you want to do. I would say, since if it's only a 5-day thing, we can go ahead and approve and direct staff to rebid or republish the RFP so that we can be in the process, so that we can kind of bring these together. Unless we don't have any need for concrete in the next 60 days, because that's about how long it would take us to go out for bid, get bids, grade bids, interview, and pick for y'all to bring back. So my only concern is, I get exactly what you're saying, but what do we do in the 60-day interim between now and when we actually have either this contractor come back with better prices or a new contractor come back with better prices?
And I understand that completely, but since this is not a new contract, simply an adjustment of prices, I would think that the contractor would still be obliged to go forward with the prices that we have in place, because we are not obliged nor required to do an adjustment in prices until the contract runs out. What is the date on this contract termination?
I believe it runs through December 31st.
So, I'm satisfied either way. I just want us to see if anybody else thinks that the prices are reasonable and would like to bid.
Okay,
All right,
so, just so I'm clear, you want staff to bring back an RFP or a RFB?
Yes,
For,
I propose,
for-
put it out.
to put it out at the next meeting? Okay,
Yep.
yeah, now I'm
Okay.
100% on board
So-
with that.
So the motion is to move this to the next meeting and have staff prepare to put out an RFP if our present contractor is not willing to go forward with the prices till December, in which case we could put it off then. I won't even put that caveat in it. Let's take that out.
So we will bring you back a procurement package for request for bids for these services at the next meeting for your approval, and then we'll go from there.
Councilman Braden?
Thank you, Mayor. City manager, this price increase, it was just per yard, and I know it's been a while since I bought some concrete, but I know if you order less than a truckload, there's a delivery fee tacked onto that. If you order 3 yards, there's plus a delivery fee. So, and it's just, last time I bought it, it was just as much to buy the whole truck as it was just pay 3 yards delivery fee. So is he adding this delivery fee in there to kind of make up? I know the price he come up with per yard is real high, but is that, did he reference anything like that?
I'll defer to Michael.
So
He was digging into it for us.
Yeah, if we do have a job that's less than 9 or 10 yards, there's a short truck fee that goes along with it. I think it's like $200 or something like that. But the prices that you see in here for the concrete quantities includes labor and finishing. So it's not just the concrete by itself. We don't have a separate pay item for labor. So that's finished concrete.
I wouldn't pour it for that, but it's like a good price to me.
All right, Councilman Guile?
I have a couple questions. Unfortunately, this is my specialty with my engineering degree, my licensure. So I noticed here they're using 89 aggregate, which requires more cementitious paste, which makes that concrete mixture more expensive than a 57 rock. Additionally, ACI 302 states a 57 rock should be on slab on grade and not a small 89 aggregate, ASTMC 3389 aggregate. Is there a reason they're using a more expensive concrete mixture for an application, flat work, slab on grade application, versus the proper mixtures that would be less expensive?
Concerning the aggregate, I can find that out for you, but council several years ago required 4,000 PSI with fiber as our standard. So that does increase the price of the concrete
Well,
as well.
4,000 PSI for an 89 aggregate requires significantly more cementitious than a 57 rock, the 1-inch aggregate declared by ACI 302 for flat work application, because smaller rock requires more paste for surface area. So 4,000 PSI can be achieved for a lot less money for a number 57 rock than it can be for a number 89 rock.
I will ask him about that tomorrow and see what he comes back with, and I'll make sure that the city manager is aware, and we can distribute that information as necessary.
I appreciate you.
I didn't understand a word you said. Anyone else discussion on this? All right, seeing none, we got our sub on the floor. We'll round out that vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved, 7-0. And that is the pulled 3B. So do I hear a motion for the consent agenda for A, C, and D?
I'll make a motion to approve A, C, and D.
All right, do I hear a second? Got a second? Seeing no further discussions, we'll call the vote on the remaining consent agenda. All right. Ayes have it, so moved, 7-0. Moving right along. Mr. Larry Jones, City Manager Report. Button.
Pardon me. Thank you for moving item 4D up in the agenda. So Mr. Mike Norberg is here from the county to help with this. Through some discussion over probably numerous meetings, the question of no-wake zones at Joe's Bayou and what we could do about them. And so we've had some good conversation with Mr. Norberg, and we appreciate his expertise in sharing with us. But what you see on the screen is, of course, the upper left hatched version. I don't know if we can make that any larger, but is the current no-wake zone at Joe's Bayou Boat Launch. You see at the top and the bottom of that hatched arc, there are green and orange markers. Those are the current no-wake zone signs. And Mr. Norberg is here, and we appreciate him being here, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong because I'm subject to be. But we do have the ability to add an additional sign at the apex of that arch there in between those other two if we wish to do that, and he has graciously agreed to help us with that. What you see across the bayou is Harbor Lane is a right-of-way that runs to the water's edge, that were we inclined to establish a kayak launch or some improvement there, but kayak launch would probably be the easiest thing to attain. We could create another 500-foot no-wake zone. But as you can tell from that graphic, those two do not intersect, so there'd still be an open space between the two of them. In order to do that, it would take an ordinance acknowledging the fact that the city wishes to establish that. It would take a design of an approved kayak launch, which would be required to be approved by the Fish and Wildlife. We're not sure exactly what that means. We're assuming it means it has to be ADA accessible, and that would be for boats, launches, parking, those things. But if council is interested in getting further into that, we'll be glad to dig in a little deeper and make sure exactly what we're looking at. So that would take some improvements, and it would take sign off from Florida Fish and Wildlife in order to establish that, to get another 500-foot no-wake zone there. And if you scroll up just a little bit, and Mr. Norberg, you can help me on this one, but there is the potential or possibility of creating a no-wake zone in that little throat area based on the blind curve that's there. That would also require an ordinance and approval from Fish and Wildlife. And thank you for being here, and please fill in the blanks, because I'm sure there are some.
New haircut?
New haircut.
Nice.
I got sick of it hanging in my hair when I'm up in the attic, trying to do some homeowner stuff, new homeowner stuff. So thanks for having me. Mike Norberg, Okaloosa County Coastal Resource Manager. So one of the things that my role is within the county is managing boating safety zones throughout the entire county. We have over 250 signs or something like that spaced throughout pretty much all the waterways. So a lot of managing that. The way that the state allows local municipalities, local governments to set up boating safety zones is established through statute. So there are some limitations associated with what can and can't be considered a no-wake zone or a boating safety zone, which also is considered a slow speed or no boats at all. So there's a couple things that are allowed, and a lot of the requests to just create zones whenever, wherever are usually stymied by statute. So ultimately, the process would be to establish an ordinance that fits within the statutory authority, and then from there, FWC would issue a permit after reviewing that ordinance, and then a zone could be created. It does take maintenance. It requires maintenance every 5 years, including resubmission of all the application information to keep it up to date. Otherwise, if statutes were to change in the future and that zone were not being maintained, or it was not even an established zone at the time that change happened, there's really no authority to be able to do anything. So a lot of the historic, there was a no-wake zone here. Stuff that we hear throughout the county is stuff that's not under the authority to establish zones because it never was officially done. So there are a couple things. The kayak launch is one that we pursued in another area of the county a couple of years ago. The way that they interpret the definition of a kayak launch facility, it has to be an improved facility that allows boaters to access the water and launch their vessels. It has to fall within both the land and the water environment. So essentially, if you look at the boat basin over in Okaloosa Island, it's a ramp that goes down into a floating dock that then has a kayak launch associated with that. So that's kind of the example of how FWC interprets the definition of an improved kayak launch facility, is an actual facility that facilitates that process of getting from the land to the water and happens in both environments. Whether that requires ADA access or parking or anything like that, that I believe would fall under the city's purview. It's not managed by FWC, and it's obviously not something that we as the county would manage either. The one request that I do have to help maintain continuity between all these zones is if you guys were to desire to take action, that we would try to run it up county leadership also and maybe establish it through the county so we can continue to maintain it. Those initial costs are a little high, but the maintenance in the long term is just a matter of replacing zones and updating all the documentation. So here to help answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you, Mike, for being here. Councilwoman Hebert?
Thanks, Mayor. On Joe's Bayou, I know by using that graphics there, most residents may not realize exactly what it is, but the bottom line is once you come in from, to Joe's Bayou, it becomes more of a neighborhood. It's truly, you're going in and then you've got a couple of cutaways, people's personal properties, personal boats. You've got kids on you know, like water boards and stuff, or, I'm sorry, paddle boards trying to maneuver around there. There's been several folks that have said, is there any way with it being more of a residence area to put it in that kind of mindset to make it safer instead of allowing jet skis to race and practice in there? I mean, is it feasible for us to want to go ahead and put an ordinance together? Is it something that we could get the county to buy in on to help us manage that area that becomes more resident-friendly versus straight out racing across the waters?
Yeah, so we did start exploring this conversation, this issue itself last year, about this time last year, earlier in the summer, when there were some conflicts between user groups, and explored a number of different options. One's reached out to my contacts within Fish and Wildlife, and ultimately something like creating this kayak launch zone, or creating a buffer that essentially is a 300-foot buffer that goes across from point to point in that blind corner, is really the only thing that we can do, that anybody has the statutory authority to do. One of the things that you got to keep in mind with a lot of these bayous is that they were established, I mean, they're historically have been used for boating activities, whether it's teaching a kid how to ski or tube or whatever. So the state's pretty strict on limiting access to state waters, essentially. So everything within the water is state waters. And the reason a lot of these statutes were established was to help curtail that. Folks getting frustrated about not in my backyard, the NIMBY attitude, and local governments pushing ordinances that essentially restrict access to the waterway within a reasonable amount. So to be completely honest, if it doesn't fit within the statute, there's not really a lot we can do. What does fit in the statute is this kayak zone right now, and then that 300-foot buffer. There's a little bit of question. I was talking with FWC about doing that 300-foot buffer that would cross from point to point. The way that I don't know for sure exactly how they describe a blind point, but it had something to do with a boater in point A to point B have to be to the point where they can't see each other when following normal boating rules. So being on the right side of the directions and everything, and I don't know if that would actually qualify within this area. So that would be a challenge for that.
Thank you, that's helpful. And hopefully those in the area that are affected can understand why we're not able to do a whole lot with what's already state waters.
Yeah, and we see that a lot, and especially in the bayous around here, around the county.
Councilwoman Trammell?
So if I understand this correctly, the two fingers, I guess I call them down there, they have been a no-wake zone, and you're saying we need to create a new no-wake zone?
No, not at all.
We have to redo that?
Not at all. So the ones that are established in the fingers back here, the two zones, those were established, I believe, back in 1998 through the process, and it was actually permitted through DEP at the time. Those are still there. They're existing, and they're remaining in effect. As long as we continue to maintain them, there's not a chance of losing them. So we did last year, or actually it was probably earlier, it was in the winter, a year and a half or 2 years ago, I can't remember. We did lose one of those signs, and I worked with Lisa and the city to get that sign replaced. We went ahead and replaced that sign. But for the most part, there's no issues with those zones. If we try to modify them or actually or do anything with those zones, there's a chance that we could lose them completely because they were, quote unquote, grandfathered into the statutory authority.
So they're going to stay?
Correct.
Okay, now the 500-foot circle that we're talking about there at the end of Harbor Lane, have you been down there?
I have.
It's like a 15-foot hill, and you're saying we have to have parking, and we have to have, which we don't have there, and probably don't have room to put there, and to get a kayak down those stairs would be just dangerous right now, I think. I don't know how you could do that, but what I see in this is speeding, and I mean, that's where we taught our kids to ski and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's fine, but it's still going to affect everybody on both sides.
Correct, and I'm not.
Because fast boats are going to make waves.
Correct, and legally, fast boats could travel fast between those two zones. There would be no violation. I am not in support or against creating a no-wake zone. I just wanted to give you guys the information based on our experience. based on conversations with staff. Absolutely, I stand on the fence on either option, whatever.
Is there anything we can use besides a kayak launch?
So ultimately, a kayak launch, boat launch, a fueling dock, those are pretty much the limitations.
I don't see any of those going in there.
Correct.
So, well, thank you for coming and explaining all that. I just don't know how it's going to be any different. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to make sure that it's clear that I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just here to provide you guys information. Correct.
I agree with you. You know, I live on the bay and I sit on my dock and I get splashed by boats and wave runners and things going by sitting on my dock.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yep.
I get that.
All right, Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not so much the wake, it's the excessive speed that worries people. So my question is, does state statute prohibit municipalities or counties from establishing reasonable speed limits in waterways?
So that's a valid question. There's nothing that, it falls within the boating and waterways group with FWC. For the most part, the way that the authority allows us to create slow speed zones and, which are defined, slow speeds off plane, settled in, but not idle. No wake zone would be an idle speed zone, essentially. So it gets confusing. There's actually a couple different zones that can be created. Speed zones typically fall under the slow speed to an extent, but I can look into that and see if there's something we can do.
And my understanding of the statute, and I've not read it extensively, is it does not prohibit us from having reasonable speed zones. And reasonable speed zone would get rid of some of the behavior that we're concerned with, the jet ski races, the other dangerous activities. And it's not unreasonable. Federal government is establishing speed zones and has proposed it in a number of areas in the Gulf of Mexico and in other parts of the country to protect whales, to do this, to do that. So it's not something that no one has thought of. And with my always devious little evil mind looking at the statute, I wonder how can we establish the public good and still stay within the law?
Yeah.
It appears to me that may be an avenue, but Ms. Kopp can always look at that for us too.
I know that we can do it under the statute, so if that's something we want to do,
I mean, even
Yeah.
if you established a speed of 15 miles an hour, you can't really race a jet ski or other vessels and not exceed that limit, and that would probably curtail the dangerous activity we're worried about. So anyway, that's a thought.
Yeah, and the statutes that we typically work under that I'm familiar with, it's not an authority of what you can't do, it's an authority of what you can do. And so that's where these zones typically come in. So it's not saying, it's saying that you can do this and not that you can't. So whether that can be interpreted as a way around something, I don't know. That would definitely be.
It's basically saying we can do it by ordinance. We can establish a slow speed zone if certain requirements are met.
Correct.
And one of them is going around the bend, and there's various things that I think we meet. I would have to have conversations probably with him and some staff, but we can do it if we meet the criteria, and I think we do.
We don't even have to call it a slow speed zone.
Well, see, under statute you do. There are very clearly defined. You can. So slow speed is off plane and settled into the water. There's no speed definition to that. Idle speed is at idle, able to maneuver your vessel. But so there's a distinction between slow speed and idle speed, no wake, but that's not a number. Yes, I agree. I agree. I agree.
I think we get a grip on things. Some vessels
Button.
be going faster than off-plane. So, that's a real fuzzy area.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's something we look at if it continues to be a kind of problem with jet ski races and courses in there, then we'll figure a way.
Yeah, and definitely I can work with staff and
Come up with something.
and look and see if speed zone is an allowance. I do know that there are areas where it is 15-mile-an-hour speed zones, and so we can definitely look into that.
Yeah, you get the circle and the 15, yeah. Councilman Gao?
So there's going to be a cost associated with trying to implement that extra 500 feet. And what I'm looking at is just a small portion of the pie. It's not going to close anything off. It's not going to really, it's only going to affect a small portion of shoreline. Who would enforce it if we got complaints? Who would enforce it?
So ultimately, it would be the sheriff's office or Fish and Wildlife.
Sheriff's
I don't know if there were, if a harbor master were to be established, if that would be an enforceable position, but ultimately, the ones who are writing the citations are sheriff's office or Fish and Wildlife. One of the challenges that we run into in all of our slow speed zones is that both of those agencies are pretty strapped for officers. So we have a lot of complaints in other areas where speeds aren't being followed or the signs regulations aren't being followed because there's not an officer there to enforce it.
So can I ask, do you have the manpower to enforce it?
Yeah, we would enforce it. Us and FWC both would enforce it. Y'all pay for one Marine unit who spends his time in the harbor enforcing the no-wake zones that are there in the harbor, and he writes citations in Joe's Bayou. We would supplement that with the other guys from the Marine unit. So we should not have a problem manpower-wise enforcing that from the water side of things.
Okay, so you're saying since you've already got manpower out there, you can enforce the additional?
Yeah, we should have no problem enforcing. If we can establish a no-wake zone there or an idle speed zone there, anything that we can establish there under the state law, we should not have an issue enforcing it at all.
All right, thanks.
Councilman Bagby.
So what I'd like to see is how many different, let me ask it this way, how many different boating safety zones are there? There's no wake zones, there's slow speed zones, how many others are there?
So in theory, there's three. There's no wake, slow speed, and then you have no vessel zones, things like that, that fall under not a speed restriction, but an actual vessel restriction.
Okay.
So you can go down the route of manatee zones, which would again fall under more of a slow speed related thing, but ultimately that's how it's enforced is slow speed,
Okay,
idle speed.
and if you say no vessel zone, can you limit the types of vessels that are so it's?
To my understanding, no vessels is no
well,
vessels.
That's what, because we've spent a lot of.
Actually, let me step back. So you can do no motor, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. So what I'd like to see the staff do is bring us back a matrix that basically says, no wake zone, slow speed zone. You can put in no vessel zone. I don't think we're going to. And then what the requirements are to establish each of those. Because I think the slow speed zone would be allowed to be in there, but I don't, until somebody can definitively give me a list that says, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it can't be that, it can't be that. If that's what that is, then you can.
This is what I have to work off of because
Okay.
it
And
is.
so, on a slow speed zone, right, what are the requirements? You've got it right there on that sheet.
To establish a slow speed zone?
Yes.
It's
Well,
the-
no, we got to do an ordinance. What does it have to do, encompass, enforce, or whatever?
So it's the authority to establish a boating safety zone, whether it's slow speed or
Right.
idle speed, is based on certain criteria. Whether it's a kayak launch facility, a boat fueling dock.
Yep, I'm not worried about that.
Correct. So there are the criteria that allow it. So I can kind of just read
Sure.
off one or two of them. So 32746 1B1 is an ordinance to establish a idle speed zone. And then it's got several things where 500 feet of a boat ramp, a hoist, a marine railway, or other launching facility. 500 feet within a fuel pumps dispensers.
I'm not worried about no wake zone. Slow speed.
I think you want to hear about 327-46 1C, which says municipalities have the authority to establish by ordinance the following boating restricted areas. And then if you go to number 2, it's an ordinance establishing a slow speed, minimum wake, or numerical speed limit.
Right.
Okay, that's what you want. So the criteria are, 1, it has to be within 300 feet of a confluence of water bodies presenting a blind corner, that's what I was talking about before.
Okay.
Then there's a little more language to that. Then 2, subject to unsafe levels of vessel traffic congestion. 3, subject to hazardous water levels or currents or containing other navigational hazards. And then 4, an area that accident reports, uniform boating citations, vessel traffic studies, or other creditable data demonstrate to present a significant risk of collision or a threat to boating safety.
And my point is, those are ors.
Those are.
Right? Those are not ands.
Correct.
Those are ors. Okay? So and we've said going into the basin, right, there's a blind spot. Coming around the basin, if you go down toward the fingers, there's a blind spot, right? All I'm looking for is the justification to either put a speed limit, which is allowed, or to put a slow speed zone, which it doesn't require a speed limit, on there. That's all I need. I need you to just tell me what the justification is, other than that blind spot, because I would want to make the whole thing, particularly for jet skis, but a slow speed zone, and all we have to do is find one of those ors.
Correct, and that's why I'm saying that does not exist. Under this statute, those do not exist to allow that entire area to be a slow speed zone. For example, that kayak launch is one of those options.
Yeah,
But it only allows
that's for a
within
no-wake zone.
Correct, for boating safety zone.
Yeah.
Correct.
I want a slow speed zone.
Yes.
Boating safety zone. So I want to know specifically if we can meet one of those criteria in the statute.
Okay, we can look into that and work with Fish and
I would
Wildlife.
think we
I
would want to
think we
look
can.
into
I have
letter B.
presented this exact
Which
situation
is-
to Fish and Wildlife, and they've kind of
I mean,
stood in the same spot that I'm looking at it, so.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that we can work with,
I bet we can find something.
we are subject to unsafe levels of vessel traffic, just saying.
All right,
We've had numerous complaints before this body about unsafe travel.
With that-
And we
is that a
send you the
motion?
tape.
is that a motion for guidance?
Yeah, that's a motion for the staff to bring back the justification, and once we agree, and the county agrees that that justification exists, then we can put it in an ordinance.
Second.
All right, got a motion and second. Councilwoman Trammell, anything further? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to make the recommendation, if they look at that they not put miles per hour, because my pontoon doesn't have miles per hour, but I do know what it means when I plane off, you know, that kind of.
All right,
I don't know if all the boats do or not.
yeah, Councilman Destin?
Okay, I would have an objection to that because miles per hour is probably going to be the easiest thing we can do that is not prohibited by the statute. If they prohibit municipalities or counties from establishing speed limits, it's the same as saying you can't establish it on your road. It goes against our constitutional authority, health, safety, and welfare. I don't think that a court would rule that we couldn't do that as long as it's reasonable and stay away from the zones, period. And until a court says you can't do that, we can do that.
Fair enough. Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, thank you for your help. Not sure what you heard or didn't hear of why we're pursuing this, but there's a potential race course of way runners out there. And you know, it's funny, not too often do we get, at least I don't get a lot of calls and emails and complaints, but every once in a while somebody goes on like an app or something and says, y'all should email the council and just say this. And then we start getting inundated with copy and paste emails. There was one that was trying to tell us not to change anything about Joe's Bayou. Leave it as it is and blah, blah, blah. And leave it as it is. Stop messing with our stuff. I grew up there being tossed around in a tube and learning to ski too, so I get it. On that email chain, though, of neighbors telling each other to tell us not to change anything, one of the ladies actually said, I disagree with all these people. I'm out there with my kids on a paddleboard, and it's dangerous. You know, I think you said your position is about water safety, so I hope you understand why we're trying to do that. It's that beach area, basically, you know? It's a shallow beach area, so. You did also say, I heard you, that you don't know the ins and outs about the parking and ADA stuff, that the city would have to figure that out. Larry, did we figure any of that out already? If we were to do a kayak?
Yeah, it's going to require some ADA compliant parking and accessibility.
So it would?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There we go. Good to know. Thank you very much for coming.
All right, with that, I got my motion and second. Seeing no further discussions, we'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, 7-0, so moved. All right, Larry, we crossed off B.
All right, item 4A is regarding the amendment to the fee ordinance to primarily deal with the short-term registration fees for condominiums. But before we get into that discussion, as we looked at the resolution, or the amendments to the resolution, there were 2 or 3 things that came to our attention that we might consider as we amend the resolution, i.e. is to the short-term rental fees for condominiums. But a couple other things are the potential of increasing public records cost from $21 to $28 an hour, which is allowed by statute, to add a 3% ability to charge 3% for a credit charge, service fee for credit card purchases for permits and such, adjust the library media replacement fees to replacement costs instead of $1 to $3, and then there's some fixes for formatting page numbers and accounting codes. We can deal with that, or just we can let you know that those are things we'd like to deal with. If you want to do those at a later date, that's fine too. So, but primarily we want to deal with the short-term registration fees for condominiums, which, as we mentioned at the last meeting, those the ordinance is in place, and it's simply a matter of amending the fee resolution to include those fees. So what you have before you is a thought that there is no current category for less than 1,500 square feet. So single-family dwellings go from 0 to up to 2,499 square feet, and that's one fee. So the possibility of creating a lower tier, which would be $14.99 or less, at a fee perhaps $300. It may be more or less depending on council's decision. And then at 1,500 feet above, reflect the same fees that single-family dwellings currently occur. So that's the bigger ask, is how we want to move forward with adopting those fees. If you wish to adopt those other 4 components, that's fine too. If not, we'll do those at a later date. But since we were amending the resolution, we thought it might be prudent to do it all at one time. So, and beyond that discussion is the discussion of how we implement it. We presented you an idea some meetings back about bringing on a third-party vendor. There was some conversation then that we may be able, or should be able, to get some of that information locally from the clerk of court that would allow us to do it internally, and we haven't gotten that far yet. So part of that thought may be, if we want to continue to look at doing it internally and capturing those fees, those names and numbers from the DOR or the clerk, that maybe we could go ahead and put out the procurement document for this third-party vendor while we're waiting on that other information. And if it comes back that we don't need the third-party vendor, we certainly don't have to award a contract and move forward with it, but we'll be in a position to do so. So the big ask is, where do we want to set the fee? How do we want to implement it? And then probably much less is whether we want to deal with these other 3 or 4 things holistically or not.
All right, and with that, does anyone want to start it off, or do I hear a motion? All right, I got Councilman Destin.
I don't have a motion, but I do have an opinion about mixing those fees together. I'd rather just do the short-term rentals and not mix those others in. And do we need a motion to that effect?
I wouldn't know, sir. We'll just bring those back in the next meeting if that's good.
Yeah, we
Councilman Bagley?
didn't advertise it as and other fees. We advertised it basically as a short-term registration. And I don't want us to get in trouble if somebody comes back and says, you can't charge me that because it was never advertised properly or whatever. So, and I'll just start out I would like to just kind of keep it simple, where we have one fee schedule on short-term rentals, and it's based on the square footage, because $14.99 is going to get 95%, probably higher than that, of the condos. Then keep the $24.99 and below, or to $1,500, and just keep the rest of it like it is, just apply to that. And so what other question did y'all have on the?
That's part A, is what fee, how much do we want to charge and at what levels? So are you saying that let's treat condominiums just like we're treating single-family dwellings and
Yeah.
have a common number?
Yeah.
And so do you wish to add a category of less than 1,500 square feet?
Yes.
Then okay, and so we
At
need,
$300, I mean, I'm happy, we can debate on what.
Yeah.
But we had discussed before $300.
that was
something
why you
less
see
than-
$300 here.
Yeah.
So whatever that number is, so I think the consideration would be that additional category, and that single-family dwellings, condominiums that fall into that category all be charged the same fee, whatever that fee is.
Okay, and I will make, I'm sure there's a motion down, yeah. I move that the council adopt Resolution 2517 as discussed, not as presented, but as discussed, so just the short-term rental. And I move that the implementation of the program to include billing, collections, and monitoring be a RFP be developed and produced. I was supposed to get a call from Gary Gray in the Department of Revenue today, and that did not happen. So I will reach back out to Kelly tomorrow and say, hey, just give me his number and I will call him, because I think we do qualify for the RISE program. And if we do, that will make our lives immeasurably easier without incurring the cost of, but I'd still go ahead with the RFP. We can produce it, we can review it, we can approve it, and if by then we don't have a DOR decision, or we don't have a acceptable DOR decision, then we can go out with that methodology.
All right.
Was that phone call and all that, was that all part of the motion, or? 'cause you never-
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a long motion.
That's a long motion.
I kind
I'll
of
second the motion before the discussion he had.
Professor Bagby, all right, Councilman Guile.
Thank you. I'd like to state some factual data I received from Crystal, just to keep everybody up to date. We have roughly 15,000 residents, 3,600 of them are homesteaded. We have $3.5 million a year in funds going to fire department, beach safety. We have $600,000 to $1 million a year going to code enforcement. We get roughly 4,500 traffic stops. We can't determine specifically how many of those are STRs or not. We get 29,466 calls. Again, can't dictate how many of those are STRs, but that's still twice as many as residents we have. Right now, we're trying to implement an entirely new program. We have not captured all the costs that are going to be associated with this. There's going to be new costs associated with it that we don't quite understand. And it's always easier to decrease the number than it is to increase the number. So I'd like to make a substitute motion that we still maintain the square footage chart, but we make the $14.99, up to $14.99 square feet, $500 a month, or $500 annually, and we can reduce that if we feel that these fees don't incorporate that cost or justify that cost. But it's always easier to decrease than it is to increase. So I would ask that it's 500 for the up to 1,499 square feet, total square footage.
All right, I have a substitute motion for a 500. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, I have a second with Councilman Schmidt for the substitute motion. Any further discussion on the sub?
Order, did we have a second?
Yeah, I had seconded that.
Yes.
We had a second on Mr. Bagby's motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we're voting on the,
We have a sub for, instead of 300, we're at 500.
and I do have a question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Do we know how much that will raise, an estimate? We had an estimate of how much it would raise at the proposed. What was it?
We're suspecting there's somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 condominiums that we'll be adding, and probably most of those will be in that less than 1,500 square foot categories, so some,
That's $2 million, give or take, right?
yes, sir, somewhere thereabouts. I mean, they're a little,
Minus whatever it costs to collect it. And our original proposed motion we had in the agenda was, what was that price?
3?
3? Which would have, of course, raised more like 1.5.
Yeah.
And how much do we raise in our total BTR, do we know? Crystal?
It's around 150,000, isn't it, Crystal?
Yeah, it's about 120,000 a year.
I'm sorry, how much?
120.
So this would be relatively 10 to 20 times more than BTR?
Yes, sir.
Of course. How much do we get from our property taxes a year?
I think it's
Property tax,
three.
total,
Yeah.
the net ad valorem for next year should be just over 12 million.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Yeah, speak into a microphone or something.
Just
12
over
million?
12 million.
So this will raise relatively 15 to 20% of our total intake from property taxes. This is an
This would cover about 35% of our law enforcement costs.
okay, or 30% of something else. So this is a rather efficient way for us to grab a whole lot more revenue and pretend like it's not a tax. So I would be opposed to 500. That's, it's too much.
All right, appreciate that. Councilman Bagby?
So the current levels are up to $24.99, and how much do we charge for that?
500 is the minimum now.
So we're saying in the substitute motion that we're going to create another category up to $14.99, but we're going to charge exactly the same amount as we would for $24.99.
And that justification was that it's easier to go down. So if we still keep that category and we find that that 500 is not necessary, we can always bring it down and still maintain that category. It makes it easier for us to separate that out by maintaining the square
Yeah.
footage charting.
So a couple of facts, since we're dealing with facts. These short-term rentals pay probably as much, if not more, than the homesteaded properties in the city of Destin in property tax. Period. Okay? Because they don't get the exemptions, they don't get any of the deductions, they pay, and most of them are out on the beach where they're valued at a lot more than probably some of our properties that are not out on the beach or out on the water. Number two, and I get they make a lot of money, but they pay a lot more in taxes. Yes, they do increase the load on the city for lifeguards or for sheriff office support or whatever. I won't deny that they increase, but they pay for that in their property taxes. This is not, I tend to agree with Mr. Destin. This 500, in my mind, is punitive because there is a heck of a lot of difference between a 2-bedroom, 890 square foot condo and a 4 or 5-bedroom, 2,499 square foot house, and the impact that they have on this community. So, if you want to do 250, I thought somebody was going to go, well, let's make it 250, half of the 500 because we're cutting it. So I just threw 300 out for a number, but I can't support the 500 because in my mind, it's punitive on people who are already paying a lot more in property taxes and insurance and other taxes, sales taxes on their short-term rentals than the homeowners who are homesteaded in this. I want to be fair to everybody. The whole reason that I was the legislative sponsor for the condos was I felt they had an impact, and yes, I agree, they all have security and they don't require some of the things that these houses require in these neighborhoods, but they do require some support. So it should be fair. I don't think charging an 890 square foot condo the same as a 2499 house is fair in my mind. So I we'll be voting now.
Can I ask you a question on something you just said? Yeah. Well, you just said that you feel that their property taxes are covering their fees. Do you have a quantitative analysis of this, or are you just pulling this out of the thin air?
Oh, I can guarantee you that the property taxes that the non-homesteaded properties in this city pay are more than the property taxes that the homesteaded properties.
No, I understand that, but you just said, prior to that, you said that those fees are covering their costs on this city.
That's where their property taxes go. I'm not saying it's completely covering their costs. Nobody's completely covering any costs. What I'm saying is they are paying more, their fair share of property taxes. That's the whole reason we have homesteaded properties and non-homesteaded properties. They are, and I'm willing to apply this up to a point, but $500, charging a 1 or 2 bedroom condo the same as a 4-bedroom house, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, and you understand that just because it's a 2-bedroom, doesn't mean they're only keeping 3 or 4 people in that house.
No,
correct? Okay.
Councilman Braden?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. I mean, it could have made it 1,500 and I'd vote for it. And because I don't think it's the same. We're all the time talking about, you know, we need money, we need money, we need money, and we're begging the TDC for every cent we get from them because they hold all the purse strings on most all this money. This money comes to us. We don't have to ask them or anybody else for it. And a homesteaded home or whatever, the taxes they're paying, they're paying more taxes, I know, on these condos and whatnot. But if we could, I mean, it would be great if we could have a state or a tax on everything that had to do with the beach. You know, beach floats, beach umbrellas, suntan lotion, anything like that. Make these tourists pay for it, because we got, you know, 14,000 people was what, paying taxes to support 120,000 people, 80,000 people, and they're all tourists. And they're putting a lot more pressure on their infrastructure because the short-term rental people, now they're renting, instead of Saturday to Saturday, now they're renting day to day. They'll rent 1 day, 3 days, 2 days, 4 days, whatever they can rent it for to put somebody's head in that bed, that's what they're doing. So if they're turning that unit over 2 or 3 times a week, it's just putting more trouble on our law enforcement, sheriff's department. So I mean, and they're going to pass it on to the tourists. If they want to come here and enjoy these beaches and whatnot, enjoy what we have, they need to pay for it. And I know some of these 2-bedroom condos are making over $100,000 a year in rental. $500 is peanuts for something like that. I think it's kind of like the pontoon boats. We got too many short-term rentals in this town, I believe. I mean, I've done work for them. It's got like 5 or 6 family members that buy a little condo and they're renting it, and they don't live here. I mean, I live in a condo and people next door are raising hell, and you go over there and look on the door and I almost got in a fist fight with a guy because he just got an attitude. I want to try to be nice about it, and he wanted to get an attitude about it. Well, you don't know who's in that unit. You don't know who's renting it. There's no plaque on it like on our short-term rentals, how many people's there, phone number, nothing else. So I think whatever it is, $500 ain't nothing for the trouble they're causing. And if we could charge the people from Texas $5,000, that'd be great for me. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right.
Are you making an adjusted motion?
Councilwoman Hebert?
Thanks, Mayor. I agree with Rodney that we do have a lot of people that come and they don't really respect that they're in a condominium with owners that live there. They're just there to rent and have a good time, and they're on vacation and they don't care about following the rules. And I think Mr. Giles' recommended motion of the $500 to start with, and if we don't feel like we need to have that, at least we've got a starting place. So I feel like it's a fair way to start. That's an annual fee. It's not like we're saying $500 a month or $500 a week, because we could certainly ask for that, you know, if we really wanted to be mean about it. But $500 a year, I think it's a good starting point, so I'll support that motion.
Councilman Schmidt?
Thank you, sir. Larry, in reality, when we pass something tonight, or I guess Kim, we now have a fee resolution schedule that's approved. In theory, we could start charging the fees, right? Whether we outsource or not.
Correct.
Correct.
Gotcha. So then realistically, I think the original motion, which I think talked about outsourcing, getting an RFP, if we go down that road, that's 60, 90, 120 days, negotiated contract and all that stuff. I mean, the RFP was done, has to go be changed or whatever, who knows, so. Is there anything stopping us, and I know we don't have a lot of staff, but, I mean, it's not too hard for us to figure out the majority of the STRs in this area. I mean, can we not use certain staff members to put the postcard together and just drop it in the mail and just voluntarily hopefully start taking registrations until we go to RFB and outsource?
Absolutely. We would put all effort into getting the word to the right people that if council moves this forward.
Kind of like a hybrid approach type of thing?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
We'd
that's the
take
way
whatever.
we did it with the single-family homes, right? We passed the fee, and then we started monitoring the Airbnb and the VRBOs to figure out who wasn't paying that should have been, and then we went through code compliance. It's just, I think there's a lot more in the numbers of condos. but
Right, and I'm not
that's the way
saying
it
I'm
was.
supporting doing it in-house. It was
Yeah.
just, are you able to start taking the steps internally to like
Yes, sir.
figure
I
some
mean,
part of it out,
to-
I guess. So that way, when next beginning of the year comes, we're rocking and rolling maybe.
All right, Councilman Bagby, final bite at the apple.
I appreciate it, Mayor. Just a question for the motion maker, Tori. So you say we can lower the price. Define for me the quantitative results you would need or you think the council would need to make a determination, because my concern is government never takes in less money. Once we get a revenue stream, maybe we just start sucking on that like a newborn calf. And I'm trying to be careful here because I know my wife is watching, but. So what is the criteria? You say, well, we can lower this. Okay, well, what's the criteria that you would say, hey, $500 is too much. Let's lower, I want to know what's going to get you to make that motion.
Well, first off, I said it's easier to lower than it is to raise. That was the statement I made.
Yeah.
Second, that would be something that would be dictated by Crystal or Crystal's team. But we still don't know what it's going to cost if we go out to RFP. There's certain costs that we don't know, we haven't incorporated in this yet. So why start off low? If it's easier to lower it than it is to raise it, start off at a number that's feasible and then let Crystal's team or the staff develop the actual true costs, and then we can make an educated decision.
So give me a range on the true cost as a percentage that would say, because I disagree with a little bit of your assumption. It takes 4 votes to raise it. It takes 4 votes to lower it. That's all it takes. It's the exact same process. So what if it only costs us 15% of that? Are we going to lower it, or are you going to come back and say, oh, wow, I thought it would be 50%, it's only 15%, let's lower it to 300? Or what's Crystal got to tell us to get you to come back with a lower number?
Well, first off, you're right. It's 4 votes either way, but it doesn't mean justifications, state justifications are just as easy. You have to be able to justify any increase that you do through the state. Is that correct, Kim? No? Okay, so there's another extra step. Do I have to justify lowering it through the state, Kim?
No.
Okay.
But
so-
you have to.
I don't have to justify it to.
We can't impose an illegal tax. We have
Right.
to have a justification for a fee and have it fund itself and its program, not just, we can't just arbitrarily raise it. But we talked about that.
Absolutely. But you still have to have a plan in place if you raise it, but you don't have to have a plan in place if you lower it. That justifies that motion, right? That movement. It's easier to go down than up.
No, that's
You don't
not
have
true.
to have a plan to raise or lower it. You have to have a justification and
A
a reasonable
justification.
basis for the action you're taking. You don't have to have a plan.
But do you have to
Either
have a
way.
justification to go up? But do you have to have a justification to go down?
When you impose a fee, raise or decrease or do anything with a fee, you should have a reason.
You should have
And
a
I think you're saying you would have a reason. You're not
You'd
saying.
have a reason, but I think you get more questions if you go up than if you go down.
No?
You don't think?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I appreciate everyone trying to sway answers.
Well, no, I'm just, the point I'm trying to make is, $500 smacks of a tax to me, because your justification is, we're gonna pay for the program. I think $300 pays for the program, but okay.
But you don't know that.
Well, so that's why I'm asking you your question. We don't know, but I guarantee you, I think you brought us before a provider that told us how much they would charge $50 a unit or whatever to collect, or maybe it was $100, but it wasn't 300, and it definitely wasn't 500, so.
I didn't bring forth a provider, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
That might have been the staff.
Yes.
But, I mean, there's no reason for us to,
When we,
debate back and forth.
when we had this conversation some months back, we had done some preliminary work to get a flavor of what it would cost, and was $40 to $50 per unit per year. Now, whether that's where a RFP brings us in or not, we'll find out if we go down that path. But that was the information that preliminary had been provided to us when we simply asked the question, what does this typically run?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Larry, I got a question for you then.
Yes,
So
sir.
if we ever had an RFP where we thought it was going to be less and it was higher, let's say the dredging operation in the harbor, was that substantially
time or two, yes,
higher?
sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I see no more discussion on the board. We will call the vote on the substitute motion. I'm sorry, say that? I'm just curious how fast we get our ass over 500
Yeah, no, I said that because if I run a management company, okay, and I've got 100 units that I'm doing, okay, $200 times 100 units, you're starting to get into real money for the management company, which are locals, the owners, which may or may not be locals, most of them aren't, but some of them are, actually. So I just think we're being punitive.
So what's not real money? I mean, $300 is real money.
Yeah.
$500 is real money.
But I will repeat my point. $500 on an 890 square foot condo, which a lot of the condos are about that size or a little bit because they're older. The older ones are those sizes. Versus a 2,499 square foot house, not even close.
All right, with that, let's point of order this and let's vote and move on.
We're waiting on Rodney.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ayes have it, 4, 3, so moved on the substitute motion.
So just so we're clear, the fee schedule will reflect $500 we'll create the category of $14.99 and below, and that fee will be $500, and it'll continue on up to the $24.99 as it currently is. And then the rest of that fee schedule will remain the same. Is that?
That was the motion that was just
Okay.
approved, yes, sir.
I thought it was 500 for everybody.
Button.
Yeah, but it has two categories.
Okay, so the ones that are over 1,500 are how much?
They're 500.
From 15 to
24.99
$24.99 will continue to be 500, and then from 14.99, I'm sorry, from 2,500 to 49.99 is 600, and over 5,000 is 700. Those are the current rates.
All right,
And if, just make sure I'm clear, and we will bring back for council's approval a procurement document regarding the outsourcing of this. Got it. Thank you.
thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Jones.
Four C is social media policy for elected officials and board and committee appointees. Council asks us to develop a policy to bring back for your consideration. So you have that policy before you. There are, primarily it's reflecting what is covered under sunshine law and what can and can't be done. There's a prohibition for online discussions from the mayor, council, members of the board committee, says that they cannot engage on online discussions about matters that may foreseeably come before them for action, that those individuals would avoid posting comments on social media about pending or potential public business to prevent accidental sunshine law violations. And if you're unsure of anything, you can certainly consult with myself or the city attorney. On quasi-judicial matters, we avoid online comments to prevent prejudice or the appearance of bias in future hearings. And then there are some provisions there regarding retention records for public records. Just a couple of things to keep in mind, that a public record is based on content and not the device it's on. If you create a public record on your personal phone, it's a public record. If you make a city business-related comment on your personal Facebook page, then it becomes a public record. Ms. Cobb, correct me if I'm wrong there. So we just have to be careful that we understand it's content and not necessarily the device or the platform. So that's kind of the crux of what's before you for your consideration.
With that, I'll start off the conversation with that. I absolutely agree we need to have a policy in place. We do not.
I'll make a motion to approve it, and then we can have our...
Thank you, sir.
I'll second it.
All right, with that, I'll start off. I absolutely agree that we need to have a policy in place, but the policy in front of us, as recommended, doesn't protect the city. We all have to do a 4-hour ethics class every year, and that sunshine violation is a personal responsibility for us to do with what we need to do. I think limiting communication and transparency is the last thing anyone wants in government, whether that was the president's last election or here locally in our elections. With that being said, there's Supreme Court rulings that say that we just need to create a designation and a distinguishing between what the authority of the city is. And I believe a social media policy should be about protecting the liability of the city, and what we do as elected officials with the representatives that have elected us and entrusted us up here should be under our purview and not restrict and have government overreach on speech. So I believe we should have one, but I think the one in front of us goes backwards in technology and not forward. So with that, I'll hear from Councilwoman Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. The irony is I'm about halfway through the ethics training. I just got ready to set me up for it. And I finished the social media profile information right before I came to tonight. And it speaks explicitly about how dangerous it is as a public official to say anything on, whether it's your personal Facebook page or one you've set up for your council page, that because people look at you as a representative of the city, you have to be very careful when you speak, even if it's just you talking about something you have a lot of faith in, or you have, a lot of passion about. It is just always going to be looked at as, oh, well, that's Councilman Hebert's, thoughts. And in your case, it would be the mayor's. And a lot of times, if anyone makes a comment on social media, because of sunshine, you can't, I couldn't jump in and say, I agree with you, Mayor, or no, Mayor, don't do that, or nothing can ever be, you get to say it and nothing gets to happen about it. And it suggests that any social media that's done with you or anyone on council, that it go through the public information officer, that they always speak in the government of the city, and anything that, I would say, anything you wanted to put out there, get Tamara to put it out there for you. Then it's not a sunshine violation. If we read into it or someone sees it, it's coming from the city, the government of Destin. And so I feel like we're pretty much protecting ourselves by putting this social media in place, because it's so dangerous now that everything can get distorted. And anything you put out there, people can read into it. And then, of course, if you say something, well, the mayor said it, why didn't you? I can't, because it's sunshine. So I know it's a hard feeling, but I beg to differ. We need to all stay off of social media, anything to do with our government, and let it come from the PIO, so that way it's coming from the city as represented.
Yeah. And I can respect that, and I respect the ability and want to have protecting the personal side. But Tamara's amazing, the city staff is amazing, but they elected us, and I feel like we should be at the tip of the spear and be communicative and upfront with everyone. So, just respectfully disagree, and that's totally fine. All right, with that, Councilman Schmidt.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Kim can correct me if I'm wrong in anything I say, or somebody else can, but I don't think I can support it. I think I'm fine with doing something, but the way I read it is, just the very beginning, at least the summary of it, basically says that we can't engage in online discussion about things that are going to be talked about here on Facebook. That's what it says, right? I know this might become like a generational age argument or something like that, and that's okay. My mom's literally sitting here right now, talking about stuff that she's watching on Facebook, so she's all about it. It's not all older people that don't like Facebook, but I think times are a lot different today than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. Just look at the presidential campaigns over the past 12 to 16 years and social media that's taken place with it. From my experience in the past 5-ish years or whatever, more awareness and more engagement happens on social media within the city of Destin's government jurisdiction and decision-making than the people that come into this meeting or talk to us or email us or call us. Or call me. Again, I can't speak for all y'all. I know a lot of y'all have a lot of history in Destin, so you probably have your circles and your neighbors and the people that y'all see and talk to about a lot of stuff, and I get that, and I respect it. But there's a lot more people in this city that, sadly, I don't agree with it. They choose to have an opinion on social media before they have an opinion to our email addresses or to our phone numbers or in these chambers. And I believe similar things are happening in Fort Walton. I see people talking about the same thing. You'll see people commenting on the Facebook, thank you, but please email this email address. Please email council at Fort Walton or council at Destin. And then 90% of the time, we don't get it. So I think it's handcuffing us, I guess, is what I'm reading. And I don't agree with that. Sure, me and Mr. Braden shouldn't get in a back and forth conversation on a Facebook. We shouldn't do that. I know in the past that happened, and we put it back on the record, so that way we were clear. But I should be able to respond to citizens and talk about stuff. And if y'all read my stuff, you understand me. But most likely you're going to already understand where I come from anyways, before that Facebook or not. So I think it strongholds us, and I don't agree with it. I don't see any type of penalty or anything. These are just kind of recommendations from my understanding. So Ken, if we were to pass this and I broke something, I'm not going to be removed from the council, right? Excuse me? I was asking Ken, did you have something? I can be removed from the council if I break it?
Not under the current resolution, but you guys do have the authority to establish.
Not under the current one.
No, but
Okay.
you guys do have the authority to set up an ethics code for yourself. It's
Right.
actually in the charter. It has to be done by ordinance.
Okay.
And we were directed to do a resolution. So if you do want to put consequences in to a policy, we would draft an
Separate.
ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, I'm fine with trying to figure out something, but I think this is just too far off one end. I wouldn't support it as it is, so thank you.
Councilman Braden.
Thank you, Mayor. I personally don't think it's having the citizens email the council. I don't think that's never been the problem at all. And I'm certainly not going to sit here and encourage the council members or any of the mayor, anybody to continue to skirt that line, walk that fine line of sunshine violations. And if somebody posts on there that, I want to have a coffee shop talk about possibly the city of Destin building an ice skating rink. And I'll go on there and say, yeah, that's great, Tori. You know, I think that's a wonderful idea. I'll support that. We're both in trouble. Not just me. Tori's in trouble as well. So I think we need something. I mean, this emailing back and forth or something, I don't think that's the problem. I think it's when we start putting stuff online, you know, personal stuff and I get it. It's, you know, I go out and talk to the public because I want to get their input as well on a lot of stuff because we don't get nobody come in here, you know, and I want their input of, you know, well, how do you feel about it? You know, this is coming up and we try to, you know, I put out the word, try to get people in here. You know, you need to get here and voice your opinion because if you don't, then we feel like, you know, nobody cares, so let's go ahead and pass it. And if, you know, we get a standing room only, you know, we're not going to pass it if that's what they're wanting. So I don't know. I know it's getting a new age, like Kevin said, and a lot of things are done online or, you know, back and forth, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever. But I don't know. We just got to be careful. You know, we don't want to wind up on Fox News, CNN, you know, Destin City Council, you know, they're all breaking sunshine laws or whatever, you know, doing stuff underhanded, corrupt, whatever. So I think we need something to try to cover us. So that's all I got. Thanks, Mayor.
Great observation. Councilman Gao.
I have to agree with something Rodney said, but first I'd like to state I'm a grown-ass man. I have a real job. I have real hobbies. I don't play on social media. I don't have any social media. Maybe if we didn't have social media, there'd be people in this damn audience that would come up and use the 3 minutes instead of crying online all day about stuff that they really aren't invested in. Because if they were invested enough, they'd come talk to all of us, right? So I'm not a fan of social media. I think it's basically a coward's way to voice an opinion. But if this council wants to move one way or another, I can be swayed. I mean, this isn't something I have a hard stance on.
Maybe I feel a little bit obligated to get into the legalities a little bit, and I'm going to explain why we have the social media policy proposed this way, okay? Because I don't think that anybody on social media is trying to cause anybody harm. But the problem with the sunshine law is y'all might think it's old or outdated, but there's been no exception created for social media yet. And until that happens, you're subject to it. And if one person posts something, that means it's like a race to post, because once that's out there, nobody can respond in any way, or it's a sunshine law violation. There can be an inadvertent sunshine law violation where somebody likes something and doesn't even think about it and it's not knowing, and that's a civil problem. Then you've got the knowing violations. If somebody responds knowingly, that's a criminal problem. That is a criminal violation of the sunshine law. So when you say it doesn't protect the city, my point is it's actually protecting all of you, because some things are inadvertent. And again, I don't think anybody's trying to hurt anything, but the goal is to help you all comply with the law, not make it more difficult for you. So the legislature has put the sunshine law in place in order to allow the public to communicate with all of you in a public meeting so that everybody can hear and respond. And social media does not allow you to do that. So that's just kind of the legalities behind it. That's a part of it, the biggest part of it. The other side is the public records law. We have a state retention schedule that requires the city to maintain records for a given period, depending on the type of record. And if you have your own personal social media pages where you're talking about city business, we have a duty to maintain the records, and our city clerk has to be able to provide them in a public records request, and there's probably no way he can do that if we're not constantly turning them in. Every time somebody responds, likes, something changes, he's supposed to have all of that. So it creates challenges with the state of the law, produced by the legislature, not by us. So just food for thought.
Councilwoman Trammell?
Kim just summed it up very well. Having finished the ethics training myself, it is really scary what can happen inadvertently.
Yeah. I would say it's also more scary for freedom of speech to be silenced, especially with an elected official at a local level representing the citizens.
Well,
And
then that has to be taken up at the legislative level, not here.
I agree with that, yeah,
Not
absolutely.
here, because we're not imposing this rule.
I agree, I know that.
We're just trying to manage it.
But that's a personal management. I don't think it's a city management, and that's where I'm coming from with this, and we can disagree, and I understand that.
I don't know how that would be
It's a
personal when we're all on the same boat.
It's a personal management because if I break sunshine, it's on me, not you.
It is on me because if I know you broke sunshine and I don't report you, I'm now in trouble. So every time something happens, I'm supposed to report you?
I guess if you can plead that you didn't know, you didn't know. If you're not
Nope.
on Facebook, then you're not on Facebook. Not on Instagram,
Well, I am on
TikTok.
Facebook, I am on Instagram, I do have Twitter, I have all that stuff, but I don't answer.
Yeah. All right, Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand a little bit more. So, and maybe Mr. Bagger, you can help me with this, because I know you got experience. Like Florida legislatures, they have the same sunshine law?
No.
Is it different?
No. They're instant.
See, I told you he'd
Their
be able to
wisdom.
answer that question.
They gave it to us just to keep us in line.
And the county
Right.
has it.
I think so like my thought was earlier when we were talking about all this, the beach stuff, and Senator Trumbull was on social media every other day talking about his
You didn't have any
his
rules.
plan, right? It's because he
They
doesn't.
don't have.
Do what I say, not as I do.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it would be impossible for them to do business under the sunshine.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I think what Mr. Wagner was saying is, I think what you were trying to say, or maybe in a different frame of mind, is if I break the sunshine law, it's me.
Yeah.
So just because, I mean, if you have to turn me in because I broke the sunshine law, and by not turning me in, you're breaking it, I mean, I guess that's the truth, but again, I think
That is the truth.
this is only penalizing me. Yeah, but it's up for interpretation still. The whole social, is there a case law that says a council member posting on Facebook is a sunshine law violation?
If there is engagement, even if someone,
If I post on Facebook that I want to build a brand-new basketball court
no.
somewhere, is that,
No, that's a public records issue, not a sunshine issue if
Right.
you're alone. But what you're still doing is you're preventing anybody else from talking about it because you have, right?
other council members?
Right, right.
Preventing them from talking about it where, on my
Well,
Facebook?
they can't respond, so it's like,
I don't need them to respond on my Facebook. I'm doing it to
I'm
engage.
just telling you what the sunshine law is.
Okay,
And you also still have the public records retention issue,
sure.
right? So, and I'm not, there may be tweaks to the policy that council wants to make, but
Right.
it's a best practice for sure.
Again, I feel like we're hurting ourselves by me or by anybody not being able to vocalize to masses on an online platform what you are in support of. I get it, and there might be 127 people watching tonight. I mean, that's great. I'm proud of you. And like Mr. Bagby said, if they were all here, that means we're doing something wrong. So we're obviously doing things right because they're not here. And I get that. That's one opinion as well. I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think we're hurting ourselves by not being able to share our individual thoughts, passions, ideas, or whatever.
I agree.
And I don't want to limit that for anybody, whether you choose to do it or not. I just don't want to limit that. And I think there's a lot of cities and counties and municipalities in Florida that do it. So that individuals do share things. So if it was a problem, I think we would have already heard about it. I don't
There
think
are
it's a problem.
many, many cities and counties that have social media policies and
Right.
that tell them not to post on social media. Just, it's not fair to say that we're the only ones doing this.
Well, then I guess my next thing would be let's get more of those examples so we
We
can see
can
it.
definitely get more examples.
Yeah.
We can definitely do
It'd be
that.
nice to understand because we went 0 to 100 with this all because of a fireside chat at Beachworks.
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
that's
so, and here we are, which is okay. Let's get there, but I just would rather have a little bit more information.
Did you just make are you making a motion to get more table this until we get more?
Yeah, sure, I'll make a motion to bring this, substitute motion to bring this back with additional data, research, and examples of other policies so we can feel better about this
All right.
to the next meeting.
I have a substitute motion.
I'll second.
All right, and we'll continue the discussions. Councilman Destin?
My discussion was on the original motion.
Okay. Councilwoman Aber?
Thanks, Mayor. I was just going to respond to Kevin, because we're here and we can talk to each other. The things that like come up on Facebook and people are like, why is the splash pad not working? And then you're able to say, well, they ordered the lowest bidder got the bid. And I want to go, well, it just so happened to be, I mean, I can't reply because you've already replied. And like when somebody said, hey, what are those things, those orange curved things? You know, I want to go, hey, that's part of our our crosstown connector, and you put it on there, and then somebody else. So that's where it's the sunshine law. It's you've already answered whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. And so like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll screenshot something, and I'll say to Larry or to Tamara, hey, this is a question. Can you get the real answer out there? Because people are complaining about it. Because I can't reply once you've said something, or if Bobby said something. So that's why I feel like the sunshine policy is that we're trying to save ourselves from getting in trouble by replying on things that people want to know the answer to. And unfortunately, there's only 33 people watching tonight, not 150, not 1,400, not even, what we would expect that give a care about our city. They're not watching it. They don't come here, they don't watch it. They just get on social media and spew a bunch of things they're not happy with. And it's like, well, why didn't you come to council? Because you can make a difference if you're physically here. You can tell us what you think so we can all vote towards things that the citizens want instead of sitting at home in their pajamas, spewing off on Facebook on every little thing that's not perfect that they want us to fix, but don't want to come in and give us ideas or suggestions. So that's why I feel like this is a good policy. Just, it's a starting line.
All right.
That was well said.
Councilman Bagley?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the original motion, so
All right.
I'll
Wait for
wait
the sub.
until, let's see if.
All right, anything else on the substitute? Seeing none, we'll call the vote for the substitute motion to bring back more.
It's to bring back more examples.
Examples, sorry, yep. All right, it is declined 2 to 4, 2 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. Can't count. All right, with that, we're back to the original motion, which is the resolution as presented by staff. And Councilman Destin?
Thank you, Mayor. The point is, that's not been really discussed, is that sunshine law says elected officials, appointed officials shall discuss at a public meeting. It also says that the meetings have to be noticed. The wonderful or awful thing about social media is there's no notice. It's spontaneous. And so it just pops up, and a lot of the people who may want to discuss don't even know it's been discussed until it's over with, or they have a chance to put a comment in later, I suppose. But the problem is it's never noticed.
But that's for 2 or more people to come together. A meeting of council elected officials would be 2 or more, would trigger a sunshine meeting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be in person, though.
Correct. Yeah, it can be alive. I mean, I would love to do Facebook Lives with you guys and have it publicly noticed.
Yeah, and
It's any time 2 or more members talk, it needs to be noticed, is what Councilmember Destin is saying. So if
Correct.
2 people, if someone's talking about a city issue on Facebook, there's no notice. And then if somebody else participates in that discussion in any way.
Like what I was saying, I can't do, because
all-
that's a
And that's the
sunshine.
unfair part about it. It can't be discussed with the entire council. Whoever started it could, but even then, it's very close to be a violation, and our attorney has made it clear that it's better to stay away from that area, and, that's end of the question, until the state legislature changes it.
Yeah. Councilman Bagby?
Thanks, Mayor. A couple of things, and I feel for you because it is a little bit of a generational thing, and you and Kevin, are younger, and y'all have grown up with this. I'm not on everything that Sandy's on. I'm just on Facebook, and I thought I was doing pretty good. I take pictures of my wife's dinners and stuff like that, share our anniversary. But The point that I would make is, and this is what brought this discussion on initially, is I think Kevin mentioned sharing our positions, okay? Our position is what four of us say our position is. I know you meant your individual, but that's, and the problem is that gets us into an area that we really shouldn't be in. You know, the method that used to be used eons ago before I ever got on the council, but Dewey will remember, leaders in the community would incite their group to show up in mass at the council meeting. So if you wanted more money for a Little League park, okay? You would bring all the Little League teams, you'd bring all the coaches, all the families, and you would pack the room and you would say, we need $50,000 more for maintenance on or batting cage or whatever. And that's how we got things done. That's how we communicated, was people voting with their feet, voting with their time, saying, hey, this is so important to me, I'm going to carve out an hour or two of my life and come to the city council meeting. You know, 2 of those 33 are my family. Probably everybody up here has somebody of those 33 online looking at that. So that tells you the citizens are, I think, fairly happy with the way, the direction the city's going and the staff. The answer, I would think, on like the orange things, I saw that too, you know, the staff, you know, Tamara should talk to Larry or should talk to whoever watched them put them out there or whatever. And here's the staff's answer. That protects us. That keeps us, A, it gets them the exactly right information. B, it probably informs half of us who either A, didn't know they were out there, or B, didn't know what they were, or whatever. But we have to be very careful. You have the hardest job up here because you have no authority, really, by the charter other than in times of emergency. And you want to, just like every single mayor I've served with, you want to influence the direction the city's going. And you have that sincere passion to help us get better. It's just hard from the position that you have because unless it's a tie, you know, and you're voting for the 17th time, there's not a lot that you can do to influence that on social media, which is your medium of choice. Yeah. You can go talk to HOA groups, you can go talk to the Rotary, you can go talk to Lions Club or whatever, kind of old style, but that's how the influence got out there. The megaphone thing is going to get us all in trouble.
Yeah. And I do both, but I would like to just piggyback on that sentence of influence. I always come from the standpoint of communication and empowerment of the citizens. I think the biggest thing, if anyone feels a little bit more excited about what we as a collective group have been doing, is because they feel like they're part of the team and they feel like they're informed and they finally know what's going on. I think you guys, even back in the day, have always been doing this. You guys have always been pushing forward. You always have great values, but now other people feel like they're on the team, even if they're just on the bench watching you guys play the game. And I think that's something that when you think about democracy and the way things are going and people feeling like it's crumbling, it's not working for me, it's because they don't feel like they're on the team anymore. And I think this is a great tool if done correctly. And I get there's a lot of traps and there's a lot of ways this can go sideways. But done correctly, I believe it restores democracy and the faith of individuals being able to come together to make a difference in a community. And I think going in this position of limiting cooperation and communication and government censorship is just being afraid of the forefront technology that's already been adapted into everyone's day-to-day life. This isn't new technology anymore, but we can't shy away from it. It's a yes and, like how do we lean into it, not how do we shy away from it thinking that it's gonna go away or we can just pass the buck to someone else. And you know, I get it, we are gonna have a different opinion on this, but if you guys are very staunched on this, I would just recommend that we don't do a resolution and we do an ordinance. If you guys are this adamant about it and this worried that there's truly detrimental health to our public image as a collective, our legal issues as an individual elected official. If you guys feel that it's this important, I would just ask for an ordinance versus a resolution so that you guys and us as a team can really move forward knowing that this is what we are going to set as the precedents of this council.
Yeah, and then I would just finish up my statement saying, we're in a closed loop information as opposed to an open loop information. And there is a reason. Whether I agree with the legislature's position or not, I don't. But it doesn't really matter because those are the rules that we live under. And so I would say, we're a small town, you know? If I personally on Facebook, which is the only thing I'm on, I don't put a lot of credence into all, I mean, I read it, I say, oh, that's interesting or whatever, but I don't, because it's a few people who are just posting over and over and over again, you know, and it's the same ones, and some of them are very happy and some of them are very sad, but on a couple of issues that have come up before, I know half of them, and half don't even live within the city limits of Destin. So it's like, that's interesting that somebody in Kelly or Emerald Bay or Walton County thinks that we should be doing this, but who cares?
Yeah.
So, and you know, and that we don't get that context, but if they show up here and they get up there and they say, I live at 4709 Sea Star Vista, I know that's in Destin, okay? And I go, okay, they took the time, that carries more weight than just the general social media.
Bobby,
Yeah.
just a couple of things you said, Mr. Bagby.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
point of order.
For what?
We have called a question. We have discussed this. Everybody's discussed it. Some of y'all have discussed it 5 or 6 times. The original motion, y'all discussed it 2 or 3 times apiece on the substitute motion. Now we're back discussion on the regular motion again.
Correct.
It's time to call the question.
I disagree. Councilman Schmidt.
Is that a motion to,
Yes, that is a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, for what?
Over.
All right. All right, so we'll call the question. All right, more censorship, fantastic.
So are we voting on?
We're
What are we voting on, just so I know?
to move on,
Point of order.
On the motion, call the question.
Call the question or to move on?
to go to the motion.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, you want to go anyways?
Oh, sure.
Oh. Yeah. All right, ayes have it, so we'll call the motion. Call the question
All right, now we're voting.
for the original motion
Now we're voting on the original motion.
as presented by council.
I know, I'm thinking. Is there a time limit to think?
You'll call a motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, and with that, I respect all of you guys sincerely, individually, but until there's any repercussions, I'm going to have the Mayor Pro Tem sign this resolution, and this has nothing to do with any of you individually, but I am going to continue to have my freedom of speech and continue this forward. So until you guys bring an ordinance with repercussions, I apologize in advance for going against this.
I don't think you can do that, Mayor, with all due respect.
Press the button.
Yeah, what's the repercussions, sir?
No, with all due respect, I don't think you can refuse to sign a policy decision of the council.
Okay, then I'll sign it, but I will unfortunately be going against this policy until there's negative consequences brought up via ordinance.
Well, that would be the next step, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir. All right.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Item 4E is regarding the restriping of Airport Road. From earlier discussion, it was asked what the options were, particularly on Airport Road, but in a broader sense, which we will continue to have that conversation. But we wanted to bring back the look at Airport Road, which our city engineer, Mr. Robert, did a great job of laying it out very clear and concise, that the current situation is there's, in each direction, there's 23 feet of pavement, roughly 11 and a half feet in each lane. The outside lane is striped to a ribbon curb. The inside lane is pretty well striped at the edge of pavement, so there's not a lot of wiggle room there. To make it any wider would require a pretty tremendous effort. That it would be more than just an overlay. It would be a building of an additional lane width, whatever it may be. One option that you may consider, if we want to add some width to the outside lane, which it would be the lane that bicycles, e-bikes currently have the right to travel in, would be to stripe the inside lane at 11 feet and the outside lane at 12 feet. Short of that, and Robert's here, and he can speak to it if he wishes, that probably wouldn't recommend going any narrower than that.
Then what length would be the limited?
I'm sorry?
What would be the limiting length? No narrower than what?
11 was the engineer's recommendation.
Gotcha. What other state highways are striped at 11? Highway and interstate? Per the Florida FDOT manual?
Interstate's typically
12?
done at 12 feet.
Okay.
Other lanes that are 11, almost all roads are shown in the Green Book to be a minimum of 11 feet.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilwoman Trammell?
I just had a question. Did I hear 11 foot for the inside and 12 foot for the outside lanes?
That's an option.
Oh, is it an option?
Currently, it's 11, they're equal, about 11 and a half feet each. So if you wanted to narrow the inside lane and expand the outside lane to give, basically gaining 6 inches of width, that would give bicyclists, at least a slight margin, but not much.
Well, I'd like to hear the engineer's recommendations, if I could. Hate to put you on the spot, would you mind?
I was just trying to give different options that we could do out there. My recommendation would be either of those things, either doing 2 11-foot lanes, doing the 11 and a half, or the 11 and 12. It really doesn't matter. If you want to put the bicyclist or give the bicyclist or e-bike folks more room, the 11 inside and 12 outside would give them a hair bit more room.
That's if we tell the e-bikes they have to be on the road and not on the sidewalk? Is that correct?
Well, right now they have the right to be in the road currently, in the outside lane.
How do we enforce that? Because I don't see any of them in the road, actually, honestly. I see them all on the sidewalk.
They have the right to be on the road and the sidewalk. So right now, we do not have a ordinance that limits them to just the roadway.
Can we make that ordinance for those that are doing 40 miles an hour down Airport Road?
The state law does give the cities the right to enact ordinances to prevent them from being on the sidewalk.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. In some cities in Florida, I see that one of the roads has the kind of shared bike symbol. What would that mean for Airport Road if we were to go down a design concept of that nature? of one road, one of the lanes being, whatever the width may be, kind of designate that as, hey, this is the bike and car, and then the other one being car. What does that look like, if you know?
It would just be some couple extra pavement markings and maybe a few extra signs.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Guile?
What does it look like if we raise the speed limit to 45 on Airport Road? Does that look better for us overall? I think it does. Does anybody else?
LSVs wouldn't be allowed.
Get rid of the L, I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. It's because it's 30. They're only allowed there because it's 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, do we really need those jackasses going all the way across the city, slowing everybody down from one end of the city to another?
Well, easier to raise it than lower it.
So is
So
that a
raise it?
motion? You're going to raise it? Yeah. Councilman Destin?
No. All right. Any other, because this was just discussion, any other thoughts, comments, concerns? You know, the whole thing came up because of the e-bikes. What do we do with them? Are they on the sidewalk? Are they on the road? Do we make a lane? What do we do? Any final thoughts before we move on? Yeah, please.
Excuse me. I think that, oh, is Tori speaking? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, all you.
I apologize,
No,
Tori,
you're-
if I interrupted. I just think there's those e-bikes that you don't pedal and the motor helps you with the speed should be on the road because they're the ones that are doing 40 miles an hour down Airport Road. The others where you're partially pedaling and they're helping you, assisting you with that, I think those are slower. Is there a speed limit that we can enforce as far as whether they should be on the road or the sidewalk? I'll ask the engineer that because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know that.
I think that would probably be better directed to Captain Fulgham, and I think he's shared how difficult that would be in the past of trying to discern how fast they're going and whether they're appropriate to be on the sidewalk or whether they should be in the street. And I'll certainly defer, but.
So the first thing is there are no e-bikes going over 28 miles an hour. You can call them e-bikes all day long, but by the state of Florida definition, they're not e-bikes, they're mopeds if they're going over 28 miles an hour. And the mopeds are not allowed to be on the sidewalk. They have to be tagged and they have to be in the street. The problem comes in is in the enforcement, because I can't look at one of these things they're calling an e-bike going down the sidewalk and tell you whether it's an e-bike or a moped just simply by the way it looks. Like I had said earlier, the only way that we can do, it's going to be, the city can pass the speed limit if they want to and put it up there, but it's going to be next to impossible to enforce. Not impossible, but next to impossible. I cannot consistently catch an e-bike on a radar, on a conventional radar. Because of the way the conventional radar works, it sends out a radio signal, it bounces off of the largest, fastest moving object and comes back to the counter. That largest, fastest moving object on Airport Road is going to be the vehicle that's in the roadway. Even if the e-bike's going faster than the vehicle, it's still going to pick up the vehicle because it's a larger target. Next obvious thing would be a laser. The laser has to have a flat metallic surface or a flat reflective surface for the laser to reflect off of and come back to the unit. We went out there and tried to do it on e-bikes. Out of 4 attempts, we got 1, and it was within 15 or 20 feet of the deputy by the time they got it. So if you're riding an e-bike down the sidewalk and you're speeding and you know you're speeding and you see a deputy standing on the sidewalk with a laser gun pointed at you, you're going to see that guy long before you get to that 15 feet that he's going to be able to get a reading on you. Now, the other thing is pacing. Okay, can you pace them in a marked unit? I can pace them in an unmarked unit all day long, but like I spoke with Mr. Braden at the last meeting, they're not speeding past marked patrol cars when they know they're speeding. So that's why I'm saying that the actual enforcement of any speed limit that y'all set on the sidewalk is going to be next to impossible on these e-bikes. My suggestion beforehand was that the city pass an ordinance and this is just my suggestion, the city pass an ordinance saying that in order to be on the sidewalk, the e-bikes have to be permitted, have the city code enforcement look at the e-bikes and inspect them to make sure that they are e-bikes, and then give them some kind of placard or something that can fit on the e-bike, that anybody that's driving down the road can look at that and say, that's a placard e-bike, that's an e-bike, it's legal to be on the sidewalk. Or it doesn't have a placard on it, it may be an e-bike, but it can't be on the sidewalk. That's going to be, from an enforcement side, that's going to be the easiest thing to enforce. You know, like I'd said earlier, the sheriff's office will do our very best to work with whatever y'all come up with. But what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see it put out there that, okay, we passed this speed limit and the sheriff's office is not doing anything to help us with it. Because I'm not going to be able to do anything to help you with it.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Aber?
Thanks, Mayor. I know this was about striping. I don't know how it got off onto e-bikes, but I would just say that both Panama City and I've seen over in Gulf Breeze, there are signs that say no motor vehicles right there on those wide sidewalks on both sides of the roads on the east and the west end of us. Why can't we just do that at our sidewalks? No motor vehicle.
Because an e-bike is not a motor vehicle, it's a bicycle.
But it's got a motor.
So I agree, but by definition, it's not a motor vehicle. So we can put those signs up there, and I can go ahead and write everybody that's on the sidewalk in a motor vehicle, just like I already can. But I can't write somebody on an e-bike by state law that falls as a bicycle on the sidewalk. Trust me, I don't like them any more than y'all do. I'm tired of my guys working traffic crashes on e-bikes. The reality of it is, most of the time, it's the vehicle's fault, not the e-bike's fault when we have these traffic crashes, because of the way the law is written. Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either. But this is what we've got, and I just don't want y'all to have an unrealistic expectation of what the abilities are going to be if we pass the speed limit there. So the other advantage to the I'm not a big fan of putting bikes in bike lanes either, but the state of Florida looked at the issue, because this is not a new issue. The problem with vehicles striking bicycles going in the opposite lane or opposite direction from the traffic on the sidewalk has existed for a long time. The e-bikes have brought them more to light, but the state traffic engineers looked at this many years ago, and the only solution they could come up with was bike lanes. That's the reason bike lanes exist. I'm not a big fan of the bike lanes, but one of the other benefits of the bike lanes as the striping is that you will, if it's done properly, it will slow the traffic down on the roadway as well.
All right, seeing, Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, is there a motion on the table?
Nope, this
Okay.
is this discussion.
What's the striping right now? And what was the plan? Because I wasn't at this meeting. I don't understand what we're even talking about. Trying to make a decision on how to stripe Airport Road, right?
Yeah,
Is there a bike lane on it right now?
no, currently there's just two 11.5-foot.
Was that
lanes
your
out
original
there.
recommendation at the last meeting?
No, we were asked to see if bike lanes could be placed out there.
So is this road being restriped per schedule or something, or?
It's being overlaid.
It's being overlaid.
And so the conversation moved from that into.
Who asked to put a bike lane?
Well, I don't know.
Council members?
Council asked us to review what was on the ground and what the potential of striping it, other than two equally lanes, maybe if there was potential of a bike lane.
Gotcha. Okay, well,
So-
I'll just make a motion to put two 11.5 lanes back, and let's get rolling.
All right, I have a motion. Councilman Destin with the second, and then you are up, sir.
Thanks, and the only observation I would make is, I can remember two people being killed on airport. I think one was on a bike and one was walking. To put those bicycles in with the traffic is a dangerous situation, made worse in my opinion, so I'll support Kevin's motion.
Yeah. And outside of the bikes, the only other intention of reducing the width is all the studies that show if we're trying to reduce speed limits and safety and make our community a little bit more people-friendly and a little less car-friendly. This was one of the possible options, was where this is all coming from. So I agree. I think the bikes on there would be a death trap, just like they are on the Highway 98. But yep. All right, seeing nothing else, I got a motion and a second. We'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. 6-1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few announcements. Friday before last, Mr. Trammell and I met with Representative Maney at the Mattie Kelly Outfall. He was in town and wanted to see what the $1 million appropriation was going to work on, so we had a good visit with him, and he was pleased at what we were going and what we were doing there, and was excited to be a part of it. While we were there in conversation, he informed us that there was $1 million in the state budget for Celebrate Florida 250 as part of the 250th anniversary of our country. So that'll be in July of next year. He sits on the committee that will award those funds, and he asked us to participate. So Dr. Young is working with some of our other partners to kind of collectively come together to see if we can get some of that money. So we'll keep you informed of that as that moves forward. Thursday night, the Perez Planning Group that's working on our Parks Master Plan will have a public engagement meeting. They will meet at 4 o'clock with the Parks and Rec Committee to lay out some, get some feedback from those folks as what they've heard, how they see things moving forward, and getting some feedback again of what the Parks and Rec Committee would like to see. And that's from 4 to 5, and then at 5:30 there will be a public engagement meeting from 5:30 to 7. That'll be at City Hall. So you're welcome to be there if you'd like. But we're looking forward to that effort moving forward. And then next week, school starts a week from today. So we just want you to be aware of that, to be safe. Tell you folks out there on your social media platforms to be safe and take care of the kids.
Couldn't resist, could you?
Just kidding.
All right, with that, we'll get into the public hearings. Ms. Kopp.
Yes.
Ray, you good? Thank you.
Okay, this is ordinance number 2025-14 LC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, creating design standards for low-speed vehicles, LSV parking, defining low-speed vehicles consistently with state law, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Land Development Code, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Seeing that this is a public hearing and first reading at this time, if anyone wishes to speak on this topic specifically, this is your time for public comments. Seeing none, I will close the public comments of 2514 LC and entertain a motion at this time. I have a motion by Councilman Destin. Got a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Ayes have it, 7-0, so moved. Ms. Kopp.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2505CC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, relating to livery vessels, amending Article 8, registration of livery vessels of the City Code of Ordinances, amending provisions related to transferability of permits, providing for additional required training and safety measures, providing for findings of fact, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Seeing this is a public hearing at this time, if anyone wishes to speak on this specific topic, this is your time for public comments. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Hi, Patty Brown, 86 Shira Street. So I want to address a couple of things quickly. The discussion about participation by the citizens of Destin. I've lived here for 20 years. I have spent hundreds of hours in this audience with just a few people, probably me and Marcy Bell. Mr. Bagby, you were so right. When the thing came up with the airport and then wanting to build the houses, I don't know if you were on, but we had 50 pilots come in here with red shirts. It was a red wave. We scared you guys. So you're right. In order to get things passed, you've got to put the effort in. And I've served on a lot of committees. I spent a lot of time. I didn't grow up here, but I look at this as my home. For me to get up here every time is painful because I'm not a public speaker. I get knots in my stomach. I feel like I'm going to throw up, but I get up here because I think it's important to get up here. So, and Bobby, I love you. And what I heard in the mumble of this community with the Facebook stuff was more people were upset that it wasn't coming from a personal page. It was coming from the mayor of Destin. And so they felt like that was the stance of the city council. And having worked a lot with the beach thing, because, that's part of my thing. And what we've done in like the last 10 years, buying property and not wanting all this money spent on legal stuff, people were a little like, have we turned the page on this to do something different? So don't take it personal. I think people were just a little alarmed by it coming from the mayor of Destin, thinking that it was the whole council. But I love you, so. Okay, so I've had my say. So now I'm livery hat on now. So I got all my stuff in. I think I was the first livery thing to be granted, and I thank the city. You guys did a great job. You followed through with everything you said you were going to do. Thank you so much. I aim to follow all the rules, and I get on many of our yacht owners that have a little tendency to get outside the buoys. So the one concern that I have is that if my boat was a taxi and it wore out and I had a taxi license, I could go out and buy a new taxi to replace it. So if my boat gets old, beat, I want to go bigger, I want to go better, but it's the same person that owns Misbehaving, can I upgrade my boat and keep my medallion? Because I'm not interested in making money on my medallion. In fact, I'm not making a lot of money on Misbehaving either, so this isn't a money thing. So I kind of would like to know that there is the ability for us owning it, having the medallion, that if we want to upgrade, that we can do that and transfer our medallion to a new boat under the same ownership. So that's kind of what I'm up here for. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, anyone else for this specific reading? Nope.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yes, you can do that. The permit has to be assigned to a vessel, but livery vessels all the time upgrade their boats and transfer the permit within their own company. This is dealing with selling it outside of yourself, and that type of transfer. Yeah, but even then, even under an outside transfer, you can still, under this ordinance as proposed, transfer it as long as it remains assigned to a vessel. Doesn't have to be the same vessel, but you have to tell the city what vessel you are assigning it to. And the point was that the permit can't be sold without being attached to a vessel.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And I see no other public comments, so I will close the public comments. And Councilman Braden, you're up first.
Thank you, Mayor. I really think that the council and staff really needs to get rid of the word medallion, get that out of their vocabulary when we're speaking in reference to livery vessels, because it's not a medallion. When we passed that, all it was a sticker. So when code compliance went down there and they saw 20 pontoon boats or jet skis, that sticker was on the side of it, and we knew that that one was counted because there were so many, and they said, well, they was moving them around, and it was, keeping 30 boats here and 10 down there and 5 over here, and we don't know where they's at. It was just a sticker, so the code compliance, that's all it was. I don't know how it got to this $15,000 medallion or whatever, whatever they think it is. It's not. It was just a sticker that we could put on that boat to see, yep, that one was counted. That's all it was. So I don't want to, and we've discussed this amongst the staff and whatnot, that it's not a medallion, it's a sticker, or that goes, I guess, with the registration. So we don't want to we can do that, that would be awesome. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, no more Ponzi schemes. Councilwoman Abear.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to bring up the fact that during this motion, I wanted to make sure that Luther Pontoons John, what was the verbiage, Kim, that he wanted to make sure that we had as part of the motion to ensure if that age of that vessel was not like 1 year, that
So the ordinance provides that when a permitted vessel is transferred, that transferee has to notify the city within 10 days of the change in ownership, right? And then the code says, the new proposed code says that you cannot transfer it again within 2 years from that notice date. So what Mr. Stevens was saying was he would recommend changing that 2 years to 1 year.
can we incorporate that into the motion, or do I have to make a substitute motion?
You can ask the motion maker to amend it or make a substitute motion.
Can the motion maker add that amendment in there, please?
I don't know, there hasn't been a motion yet.
I
no.
thought,
Then you can make a new motion if there hasn't been
I'll
one.
make the motion to include that 1 year
So
in,
it's to approve the ordinance with that modification?
yes, please.
Okay.
All right, and I have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Okay, got a second, Councilman Guile. Continuing on, Councilman Guile.
What was I apologize, I was gonna ask exactly what she did on behalf of John Stevens, so how do I remove this?
You're good to go? There we go. Councilman Bagby.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things. So, number one, and I understand it was the Harbor Board that made this recommendation, but subparagraph III on the, I, on the NADA values. And I agree with we don't want this to get into a bidding war, or we don't want this to get into an inflation of sales prices, because then it's just a backdoor around the medallion issue. What I disagree with fairly strongly is us telling private entities what they can sell their equipment for. Okay, because we say, oh, you can't sell that pontoon for more than 10% above NADA value. No matter the condition, no matter whatever, I think that needs to be removed. At least the way I understand this is I have a boat, I have a pontoon boat, I have a medallion, I have a registration. I'm sorry, now I don't even use that word. I have a registration. If I decide to sell that, then they have to come to the city, and what John's complaint was, we said they had to keep it for 2 years. I would say, no, if you sell your equipment, you're allowed to sell your equipment, whatever you can sell your equipment for. But when you don't have that equipment anymore, that registration goes away. And as long as we don't have any more, or we don't have a line waiting of 200 people wanting to get registrations or whatever, as long as we're below the 490, that new owner can apply for the registration and they can get it. I don't want to be in the business of us trying to keep track of registrations that are changing hands every year or every 2 years or whatever. You know, if somebody wants to get rid of their equipment and buy a new boat, that's fine. That's their registration, you know. But if they want to keep their old boat and they want to keep it registered, then they should apply for a new registration. It's whether it's a used boat or a brand new boat, it's a new registration. And so that's my only concern. But I would ask the amendment or the motion maker to take out, I think it's C point I, that states to avoid artificial inflation of sales pricing or price gouging, registered vessels may not be sold for more than the current NADA guide value plus 10%.
All right, Councilwoman Abear, are you okay with that amendment?
Absolutely, Mayor, if you can make that change, Ms. Kopp, to that.
Councilman Guile, are you okay being the second on that? You were a second on the original. We are taking out, if you want to rehear that, You wanted to take out C?
No,
It's
I'm fine with it. I was just trying to be a pain in the
14148C,
butt.
little.
Okay. Be awkward
We're
silence
good
was
with that,
killing me.
it's good.
Okay. All right, I got the motion in a second amended. Thank you for that. Councilman Bagby, you good?
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Schmidt?
Thank you. Is this the ordinance that deals with what happens when like the registrations expire?
Yes.
So what happens when registrations expire? Do they become available again? Like with the moratorium?
They got a year.
Does it go away if they don't? Does it disappear?
So like people over the past year that haven't registered their registrations, we're not calling them medallions, right? Right,
Stickers.
registrations.
It rolls back to the city.
It rolls back to the city.
But we've always been, oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, I'm just saying, we have a cap of 490 in here, so that's how many we would always have unless that's amended. And the way it's currently proposed, if a registration lapses or expires or whatever, then it would go back to the city in that 490. Now, if council doesn't want it that way, we can just modify it, so.
That's how it's currently proposed, or that's what we're currently doing?
That's how it's proposed. That's how it's proposed. We do not currently have a cap, other than the moratorium itself.
So is that why if somebody wanted to come get a registration, we don't give it to them, even if we have 400 outstanding right now?
Yeah, right now, because we have the moratorium, if they're not already registered as of the date of the moratorium, they don't
So
get.
then this ordinance, based on the proposal, would allow somebody to come get a registration as long as we're under 490, a new one.
If the moratorium goes away, yeah. When the moratorium expires,
So I'm confused then.
the moratorium isn't.
What does the cap
permanent.
have to do with anything then?
Well, the cap would be in the, so we're amending the code. The cap would go in the code and stay there until the council amends the code again. The moratorium, I think, has 3 years left. It was a 5-year extension, and I think that was almost 2 years ago.
So the
Check the exact date.
So the moratorium that we have right now,
Does not allow you to start a new livery vessel business.
and that's regardless of the city's active registrations, regardless, no matter what? Like, doesn't matter about the number?
Well, why don't you all decide what you want the policy to be, and then we'll write it up. But right now,
So
there's.
are people allowed to come get new registrations if we have 400?
If we have 490
No,
and
if we
somebody,
have 400.
so they,
That's not in the moratorium right now. That's in the proposal. We don't have 490 in the moratorium. We just have, you all got your vessel registrations, and now you can't get any more. And now we're trying to put into our code the policy that addresses the questions you're asking.
But if somebody came up tomorrow to get a registration, we would tell them no because we're in a moratorium?
If somebody came in to get a registration.
Somebody applied for a livery
Somebody that
vessel
doesn't have,
registration.
somebody new that doesn't have, yeah, they
They'd be
would not.
denied.
Right,
Because we're in a moratorium.
Or if they added to their fleet?
right, correct.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
couldn't
Is that what
expand or start a new.
y'all
that's what we
aware
want.
of?
Three more years of no more new business.
That-
So even if the number goes from 490 to 450 to 425 to 400, you're still saying that you would not allow
A new business.
a new one?
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all understanding. Because
Yeah.
it's been a conversation for many years. So, okay, appreciate it.
Councilwoman Trammell?
Yes, this is in, with regards to Mr. Bagby's question that he had earlier about the vessels being sold. I agree with you. What I thought that I wanted put in here was the quote, registration couldn't be sold for more than 10%, not the vehicle. Does that make sense? Because before we talked about, and I was on the Harbor CRA when this was brought up, we talked about medallions, and they'd be like New York City taxis, they said, and you'd be able to sell them for $15,000 for a sticker. Not for the boat, not for anything. It was just that the sticker, the ability to have a sticker couldn't be sold for more than 10%. I'm not sure how the word vessel got in there. And so, do you agree that the sticker shouldn't be sold for any more than what they paid for it? Because we're the ones that are selling it to them.
I don't think any stickers should be sold to anybody. If you want to sell your vessel and,
Yeah, that's fine, I
you
don't
know,
care.
this goes to Kevin's question or point of if they buy it, if they buy the boat, they're getting another sticker, right? So,
That's what I'm asking, because I thought this was all different.
yeah, but no, they specifically, this came from the Harbor Board, and they specifically raised the issue of, and I understand what they're trying to do. They don't want you selling your sticker for 50,000, you know, selling your boat with a sticker for $50,000 for a $10,000 vessel.
Well,
Because then you're selling the sticker for $40,000 and you're selling the vessel for
well,
10.
what brought this up was a person who had retired and had 15 stickers and was selling them for $15,000 a piece on no boat.
Yeah.
Just a sticker. And that's why I said, I don't think they should be able to sell the sticker.
Right.
Period.
They shouldn't, period.
So, is that in here?
I thought that was in here, Kim.
Kim, is that in here somewhere?
Part, the city manager is asking me a question. Go ahead. Just repeat your question, please.
What, the question is, we took out the part of selling the vessel for more than 10%. I agree with the vessel price.
It was the vessel plus the permit, because under this ordinance, you can't sell the permit without the vessel. That's what it's saying. You have to have your permit attached to a vessel at all times. You can't just sell the permit like a medallion, to Rodney's point. It's not a medallion, it's a permit. Has to be assigned to a vessel, and then you can sell them together.
So if you bought a bunch of these things ahead of time and you don't have boats, and can you sell the sticker?
No. Except there is not to confuse it more, but the ordinance has a 1-year grace period where you can sell the permit without the vessel, but only for 1 year from the effective date, and if you all don't like that, it can be taken out. But there was that grace period, and then after that, you can only sell the permit with the vessel. And that was done because there are certain individuals in the city that spent some,
yeah. And I agree, and I don't have a problem with them getting their money back, but I thought that's where the 10% increase came in, so that they couldn't sell that permit for $15,000.
was for the boat with the permit, but yeah, it was so that they didn't price gouge. Ultimately, it was because of the permit, yes, but you can't sell a permit without the vessel.
Okay.
Okay.
Except in the 1-year grace period.
Except in the 1-year grace period.
And how much can you charge for that permit if you sell it in that 1-year grace period? That's her point.
That is not addressed in the ordinance. If you want a limit on that, we can do it.
I would like a limit on that. I don't.
10% more than what you got from
Yeah,
the city?
10%, yeah, that's the 10% is fine with me.
If the registration, $100 would be $110.
10% more than what?
Then what, they paid for it?
The original.
The original one. So if they're selling a permit without a boat, which they can do in the first year, they can't make $15,000 off that sticker. They can't sell the permit for $15,000 to somebody that hasn't registered yet, you know?
I'm not sure how we enforce that.
So.
All right. All right, with that, I'm going to do my best. Let's roll back in. Yeah. All right, so with that, did you get your answer? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I'm just not clear on what you want the cap to be for that 1-year grace period, because if it's 10% from the city's registration fee, that is not very much. That's going to be like, you know, if we sell it for $300, it's going to be $3, you know, so.
30.
Or 30, sorry. But you know what I'm saying? It's going to be.
Because I don't think they should, they paid for it, they should get their money back. Yes, or they should turn it in.
Button. Yeah.
So is it 10% more than they paid, or 10% more than the city's fee?
Well, what did they pay for it? They only bought it from the city, right?
Not necessarily.
There's
Go
a
ahead.
couple of individuals in the city that have bought from other livery operators.
That's their problem.
Okay, that's the question I
Yeah,
have.
that's-
So
yeah.
that's their problem. So it will be 10% from the city's fee.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. Councilman Destin, bring us home, sir.
Okay, my question is, those who may hypothetically turn their certificates back into the city. Could happen, correct? What does the city do with them? Will that be the subject of another ordinance amendment?
No, I think it depends if there's a moratorium. If there's a moratorium, we're not issuing them. But if when the moratorium expires, if this code is still in place, under this code, the city would be able to issue it to somebody else if they met all the requirements of the land development code for a livery operation, meaning parking, bathrooms, so on.
Okay. Well, it seems to me which came first, the chicken or the egg. If you have a moratorium, you've limited the number of permits. So what's the object of giving them back to the city?
This is a council policy call. You guys decide and we'll do it.
And I understand, that's the point I'm making, though. If you're going to turn them back into the city, then the city would have to determine who gets them, and that would be subject to another ordinance. I don't want to tangle that into this because we're already down the rabbit hole. But it's something we'll have to decide. If some of them get turned back in, how do we allocate them to new people? Is it a lottery? Is it first come, first serve? Is it people whose names start with a D? You know.
But we just, Dan, to ask a question, right now, we won't, because we're in a moratorium. That's what I was asking earlier, right?
I don't really understand that logic. If you're at a moratorium and you're below the moratorium.
That's why I asked earlier.
Is it a floating moratorium? As people goes out of business and loses their permits, the number goes down, so that's not really a moratorium. It's a moratorium that can go down, can't go up.
I heard it's easier to go down.
But it does.
Anyway, sorry I asked those questions.
No, but that's where I'm thinking, like, as a council, do we want, like, we can almost kind of set the new benchmark if they're going to slowly go down before the moratorium times out, if we're not going to redo it, what is going to be new threshold if there is that delta of extra?
And that is the object of most limited entry systems, that if you think there are too many, through attrition, they go down, but that clearly is not a goal that we have set, because we don't know what they should go down to.
Correct. All right, with that, Councilman Bagley.
I believe we had a citizen come up about 2 months ago and say he had bought a bunch of permits. He was just waiting on dockage, somebody to build docks or him get docks, or he was negotiating his thing. And what I'm concerned about is if he paid, he paid a lot for his permits, his registrations, and either if he doesn't get the dockage, that's not our issue. But if he gets half the dockage and he has to eat whatever this substantial sum is, I don't remember, and we're telling him you can only resell it for what the original owner paid plus 10%, I think we've almost given him a financial incentive to challenge us. So I don't know what the answer is, because I hadn't thought through this whole thing yet, but I think we may need to either have, I don't want to do a workshop, but we need to think this through, because I think we are so far down a rabbit hole and we got so many little fingers in the dike that we don't even know where the leaks are, to be honest with you. So I'm going to make a substitute motion to table this to allow us to talk with staff for the next 2 weeks and see if we can't come to a better understanding individually so that we can come to a better understanding collectively. Because I think some of us think there's some things in here that aren't in here, and vice versa, if that makes sense.
And just to clarify, the tables for the next
meeting.
Next meeting, okay. All right, do I have?
If you don't have a second, that's fine.
Yeah, do I have a motion for?
Second.
All right. All right, and with that, I have a motion and a second with the table. Sorry, Guile. With that, we'll call the table.
And is it a motion to table, or is it a motion to transfer or move to the next meeting? Move to the next meeting. Okay.
So that way you want us to
And that way.
Okay, so you want to just not table, we're just moving it? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, with that, Councilman Guile, you're up.
Oh, I get to talk?
Yeah, he said table it first, and he...
Sorry, y'all
or-
were kind to me, I'm gonna be kind to you. All I was gonna say is we need to make sure we remember the Army Corps of Engineer did do a study on the harbor, said we were overly congested, said there's a high risk of injury or death if we continue in that path. So if we remove these permits as they come in, all we're doing is increasing public safety. Right? It's dangerous out there, dang it.
Councilman Destin, you have...
On the motion to move to the next meeting, it seemed to me that a simpler way would be to remove those questions about prices people can sell things for and go forward. The rest of it is his first reading, and if we change it, then it would go back to first reading. But I hate to just stop in the middle here. But I agree with Mr. Bagby that we don't need to be telling people what they can sell their equipment for, nor the permit when it's going to get so crazy about what you paid for it. Those things just don't need to be in there. So.
Right, is...
So the motion is to move to the next meeting?
Yeah, we had to substitute motion, so if we want to do anything, we would need to call the substitute, decline it, and then you do a sub if that's where you're wanting to go with that.
And I would, except there are a couple of things in there that I thought I understood, that now I'm questioning whether or not I understand what I read, and I read it twice.
All right, yep, with no further discussion, we will call the substitute motion to have this reconsidered at the next meeting.
Brought back for first reading.
Brought back, there you go, thank you.
With no changes.
With no changes?
Well, no, with the changes of taking out the agent.
Okay, with the changes of the original
Yeah, and
motion.
with the changes that were already.
Okay.
All right, good deal. All right, 6-1, stick to your guns. All right, is that the last one? You got one more, Ms. Kopp?
Yes, the property. This is ordinance 2417CC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances to create a new Article 5 Property Maintenance Code, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Code of Ordinances, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading. The only changes we made from the last meeting was to change the appeal period from 5 to 14 days. That's to put in there notice of appeal. And then we also added the whereas clause that made it clear what the intent of the ordinance was.
All right, Councilwoman Trammell?
Well, it's
Oh, I'm
just-
sorry, before you do that.
No, it's fine, it disappeared.
No, either way, I got public comments first. If anyone, this is the public comments for 2417CC on second reading. If anyone wishes to speak on this topic, this is your time to do so. All right, legal checkbox, close that. Councilwoman Trammell.
I'm going to make the recommended motion. I move that the city council adopt ordinance 24-17-CC Property Maintenance Code on second reading.
I'll second it.
All right, Councilwoman Aber with the second. Any discussions? Seeing a blank board, Ray, call the vote. All right, ayes have it, 7-0, so moved. All right, moving right along. Councilman Braden.
I'm tired, Mayor.
I feel you. I feel that. Councilwoman Trammell.
I just have one thing tonight. I was reading the minutes of the meetings, and the Harbor CRA had quite a few motions that, that they need the CRA board to address. So I guess I would be asking if we wanted to have a CRA board meeting.
Would that be for the next council meeting, you're saying, to do it beforehand?
Whenever. I'm not
Yeah,
the
just-
board, I'm not the board chair, so
I am. I'll, you want to make a motion that? we
Yes, I'll
have
make a motion that we have a CRA board meeting
I'll
prior to
second
the
that.
next meeting.
I'll second that.
At the next meeting or
Prior to
Right in front of the next meeting.
Oh, yeah. All right, like 5:30 before?
5:30, yeah.
All right.
There might be some that might require discussion, so.
Yep. All right.
That's all I have. Thank
All right,
you.
I got a motion and a second for a CRA meeting prior to the next city council meeting. And I got my motion and a second. Ray, if you can open the vote. Yep. Hey, motion. It's a lot of typing for motion. All right, 7-0, so moved. Congratulations, another meeting. Anything else, Councilwoman? No. Good, all right, Councilman Destin.
Quick question. I asked the city manager to give us an update on the signs, danger swimming signs we voted to put along the area where the little girl unfortunately drowned. Can you give us a quick update on where that's going?
Yes, sir. We've added some signage at the Osteen access that the city maintains, warning of strong currents. The TDC has put some at the end of the jetty, at the landward end of the jetties, warning of strong currents, and one over by the little pools that we have at Noriega Point. We've asked the Emerald Grand folks if they would consider putting some on their property out, and they're taking a look at that for us. So, and the signage that the TDC's placed is kind of wordy, so we've had some conversation. They've agreed to allow us to put some more clarity and some just more succinct signage that says, "Be careful of strong currents." So,
Very good. Do we anticipate to have those up by Labor Day?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Should have.
All I got. Thanks.
Mr. Destin, with your knowledge of that pass and everybody, do you know why we put the signs up, but we don't have a flag on the lifeguard thing out there?
My understanding is the flags denote, my understanding is the flags denote the wave condition and not necessarily current, and we're just being more specific.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but to that point, I think if we wanted to get creative, perhaps if there was a way to signalize, they're both dangerous, but high tide versus low tide being you're going to get pushed out to the Gulf versus into Crab Island, again, both very strong, but maybe there's not a flag system, but just a way of interaction of information that might get them to actually stop and read what's going on there. But
Try to innovate that, but outgoing tide.
yeah, not for us.
Outgoing
anytime
tide is
soon.
like 4 times stronger than ingoing, so it's even more dangerous.
Yeah. All right, Councilman Bagby.
2 quick things. Jay was going to come tonight, but he and Michelle are trying to have a conference call with Emerson and hopefully Gator Lee on the parcel that the Parks Foundation is trying to acquire for the city. So there wasn't really an update. They don't have a decision. And so once they do have some indication or some direction from the Lee family, he'll come and update us. Just received at about 7:15 this evening, a copy of the Army Corps permit for Four Prong Lake. So it looks like we're getting ready to try to find bidders to do that, or find somebody that's capable of doing that. So I did meet with Commissioner Palmer last week and asked for the county to help us with some of their half-cent money to contribute to the pot, to the money that the homeowners, the city, and the state have already contributed to. So hopefully more information on that will be forthcoming.
Awesome, great work. All right, Councilwoman Hebert.
I had a couple things tonight, but I'm going to put them off till next time. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, Councilman Guile.
I have one quick thing. In October, we have the new sheriff's agreement coming up, the existing sheriff's agreement. I think I'm going to have some questions for next council meeting. I would like to review the current law enforcement service agreement next council meeting under my name, Ray, please. And I would appreciate it if the sheriff's department was prepared to answer some questions based off that service agreement, so that we can prepare properly in October for the new service agreement.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a few things, if you don't mind bearing with me. First, just to go back to the social media discussion, Mr. Bagby brought up a couple of examples, and I just wanted to share with you. I've taken part in a couple of those scenarios that you mentioned, and probably less than on one hand in my 4.5 years so far have we had this room that crowded. But the one time we did, there was a mascot in here, there was cheerleaders, and we didn't do what they wanted to do that particular night. So not always does what you said work. On the other side, on social media, there was a number of people that were very interested, citizens, business owners, in beach bonfires. Couldn't even have that discussion up here because of the political game of Robert's Rules of Orders that particular night. Didn't even get a second. So, it doesn't always go the way that, that we think as well. I wish we could be just more accommodating to have those discussions up here regardless and just have an open mind sometimes. I didn't see, somebody asked me about, they told me that the city is in an agreement with PAWS again, but I have not seen or heard anything about that. I was told that we're back on it.
We've had a conversation with the executive director, and I apologize, I intended to mention this during my announcement, but we're operating on a handshake agreement temporarily, that they will service our needs. She was having their attorney draw up a proposal for us to consider, and it would be at the rate that they were insisting on. But I did ask, and she agreed that they would put what I'm considering a most favored nation status provision that says if Okaloosa County gets a better rate, then we can piggyback off of the Okaloosa County rate. And the county and PAWS are in negotiations for perhaps a 2-year agreement. So, but I haven't seen that formal document.
So are we at the handshake rate of the month-to-month contract of our previous contract? Is that, that's what we're following?
Yes, sir.
The handshake?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, no, sir.
Oh,
That was just
all right, I got you.
one of the items.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
Yeah, we're just scratching. We only get so many times to talk up here. The BTR process, I was reached out by a previous council member, and a few years ago I brought this up. I think Mr. Johnson and Lewis were here, and we were going through a software change about BTR notifications because the city we didn't really have a good way of talking about renewals for BTRs. Then it was going to be when we got the next software, we were going to work on it. And I don't think we still have that process. Now we're in another new software. Tamra, I believe Tamra, puts on the website, which I got a notification about the BTR process is open, but that's because I signed up for notifications about meetings and stuff, not because I'm a business owner. The county, I shared this last time when we were in Lance's office, anyways, it's a card, and you scan it, and it goes straight to your BTR registration renewal, and it's a postcard. So do we have anything happening right now with BTR renewals? Is there a updated process? Are we collecting differently than we have in the past? Is there any thoughts on that before I propose something?
Yeah, so they moved over from Compass to MGO.
Okay.
What they've done to help facilitate that, they've sent out notices twice. That seemed to help things. But also they put a banner on the old Compass because people.
What do you mean sent out notices twice? I've not gotten a single one. I have 3 businesses in the city.
So that's what I know. They sent out notices, so I'll find out what that means.
Okay.
And then they've put a banner on the old Compass. People can still go there and they can pay things that they haven't paid. So they may have something on Compass that's in arrears, but they can't pay a new one.
Right.
But the banner is to direct them, if you're paying for this coming year, then you need to go to MGO.
So previous conversations we had, I think I had with Crystal as well, was that the city of Destin was missing out on not so much, but a lot of potential. We were missing out on revenue for people that didn't even know that they needed to renew and things like that. And I assume, maybe Crystal could correct me if I'm wrong, but do we know the revenue collections over the past 2 to 3 years of BTR registrations or renewals? Is that like a number we have?
Yeah, we do know. It's been approximately $120,000 a year.
Consistently?
In the past, before it was higher.
Okay.
The issue that we came across, we were not able to just simply invoice people because there are so many different variables involved that might change from year to year.
Okay.
So that is set in the rate schedule that we adopted, and Florida statute unfortunately does not allow us to change the rate structure in our perfect world, we would simplify it down and be able just to simply invoice on an annual basis, but the Florida statute will not allow us to change our rate structure.
Mr. Destin, do you do your BTR renewals, or do you got staff members that handle all that stuff for you? Do you do your BTRs, like the process? Do you have your hands in that with your businesses?
To the best of my knowledge, I've not gotten those. There's been an email that went in with the 10,000 junk emails. I'll go
Have you ever
look.
done the county one before?
Oh, yeah. You get a little card every year.
Super easy.
Pretty simple.
Larry, could we look into what that is and see if we could do it in collaboration with our new system, or it's just, I think it would be something, if we could do, I think that'd be good to try. Okay, that'd be awesome. Where are we at with our code enforcement officer numbers? Do we have any new people?
We currently do not have any new individuals, but we've conducted, let me pull up the numbers real quick. I thought I had it up. There it is. We've had 15 applicants for the job.
Okay.
And we've conducted 6 first-round interviews. And we have 2 more applicants that we're currently trying to set up first-round interviews with, and we are scheduling 3 second-round interviews at this time.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Do you need anything from us?
Not at the moment.
Cool. All right. I got a call about this, well, I learned it's called the Flock system. It's a solar panel, and it has a camera on it. I think 2 or 3 years ago, Sheriff's Office started a campaign to put these things around the county to help with license plate identification. And there was one, I think maybe the first one installed in Destin recently.
Main Street.
On the right-of-way. And so I just was going to see, do we have a process to get approval in the city for when those things are installed? Or is there something already in
Other than a
agreement?
permit in the right-of-way would be the only process we would have, and I think in checking those did get permits, but certainly it would be at council's discretion. If we don't want them, we can certainly have them moved.
So that one was permitted to go there?
That's my understanding. That correct? Yes, sir.
Do we have any open or active permits for more coming?
Requests? I'm not aware.
Not currently.
Okay. Gotcha. Say that again? Who's the?
Who requested the permit? Who does that
The sheriff's
one?
office, I
It's the
believe.
sheriff? No?
No?
No.
Well, it's a contractor that's working on behalf of the sheriff's
Oh,
office,
sorry,
from what we
I
understand.
apologize.
Yeah. So,
So is it,
Under the sheriff's office.
so it's for their use, for their follow-through?
Am I wrong? It was like a campaign 2 or 3 years ago that started, to help law traffic?
Yeah, you're correct. That's several years ago, I don't know if it was 2 or 3,
Okay.
but several years ago, the sheriff's office hired or entered into an agreement with Flock Camera Systems to place the license plate reader cameras around the county. And that's just a continuation of that contract. There's actually 4 now that are on city right-of-way. There's another, trying to remember, 4, I think there's another 4 that are on the state right-of-way, but are actually located inside the city limits.
I mean, I've heard good things about them, great things, cases, being able to, people find stuff, but I've also heard some concerning comments from some citizens as well about some overreaching stuff, and it was supposed to be one thing, but it ended up being another thing, so I just wanted to be able to at least share with other people that asked, so y'all would know too. Last thing is, we got an email on the 24th from Benjamin F. Edwards and Co. Investment people, talking about our FRS thrift savings plan. Not sure if you guys had a chance to browse that. Did we get any contact with them about that? I guess, I'm not sure if there was any request, but
I don't know that we've reached back out to
So-
them.
I
haven't
do
contacted-
know that Jamie did have a conversation, but she's not here. And I do also know that Jamie and I are talking to an ERISA attorney who specializes in this, because we'd have to
Okay.
restate our plan. So my point is, this conversation's going to be coming back to council. We
Okay.
can't hire outside counsel without council approval anyway, so.
So for anybody that hasn't had a chance to read it, it was a very detailed email about some questions, comments, and concerns about the change to the thrift savings plan, or the change to the FRS plan. And we were supposed to have presented to the council the plan and what the FRS plan is. And we haven't gotten that yet, but we're already moving forward with preparing for it in the budget. So this was a little bit, I had a lot of questions on this. And so I guess what are you bringing it back to us at a future meeting, or?
Yeah, we have actually a call with the ERISA attorney at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then once we hear if he can meet the city's needs and what we need to bring back to you, then we would be bringing back a potential retainer agreement and details on what he would be providing. But the existing thrift plan has to be reviewed and restated this year anyway.
Okay. So when, will we be getting a more detailed understanding of the FRS plan?
Yeah.
At that meeting, at the budget meeting? Because I know Mr. Bagby made a motion to have a plan presented to us, and we haven't.
Yeah, we'll.
When?
We approved it last meeting.
What did we approve?
Put it in the budget to approve.
You made just a motion to just do something, but we didn't have a presentation on the FRS system. You just made a motion.
We would have an ordinance, right? That would, we had a motion to get the FRS system into effect and into the budget, and then an ordinance would come back to the council at a very soon meeting, because it was supposed to be done before October 1st. And council would then have 2 public hearings and discussions on the ordinance that would implement the FRS plan.
Right, I guess, I know sometimes people like when I read from the minutes, but the motion was to direct staff to develop and present an option for transitioning city employees to Social Security and the FRS system. Yes. And when did they bring back the plan and presented it to us?
At the last meeting, they came and told us basically what Kim just described, that if we wanted to use that option, we needed to approve it at the last meeting so that they would have time to notice and bring it to 2 meetings before we started paying folks at the 1st of October.
So at the
And
last
that-
meeting, there
that
was
is the
nothing on the
plan.
agenda presented and planned for this. You made a motion to do something at the last meeting that was not on the agenda.
No.
There was no
Yeah, they
plan.
did. Crystal, you want to jump in here? I know it was Jamie, but I know
I
you
wasn't
had-
here, so but
Yeah,
I
know.
watched it and I
Yeah.
saw the agenda, and so I don't know
Yeah.
when.
But yeah, it was under Bagby's name, as he was the legislative sponsor.
What was under his name?
Uh,
Direct staff to begin the process to enroll in the FRS?
Correct.
So where was
But
the
there also-
plan?
There were also 2 presentations where we showed exactly, this is what our thrift plan is compared to this is what the
And when was
the
that?
FRS plan is. And all the FRS documentation's easily, readily available online as well.
So at the budget workshop, the very first one, there was about 60 seconds, because the whole meeting was about 20 minutes that night, if you recall.
There were comparisons.
Actually, you weren't at the first one, but it
There
was
were
only about
budget-
20 minutes. But we only had about 60-second conversation about the FRS plan.
I
Just like
recall in
one.
another, since after the budget meeting to council, Jamie brought back a presentation with all of the details again.
For the FRS
describing
plan?
Yes,
Well,
comparing
I
the
asked
FRS to the
Ray-
thrift plan.
Well, I asked Ray at Public Records for FRS discussions, and that particular item was not provided. So I imagine you would have picked that up if it was discussed at a meeting in July. So I guess, I mean, we can go in circles, but if you have it, please send it to me tonight or tomorrow. If you don't have it, it seems to me like, unfortunately, we're doing something that, no offense, but you've pushed through a couple of times, and I haven't seen it in the council. So
I would ask you to go
I'm wrong,
back to
please show
the
it.
video of the last meeting and look at the presentation underneath my name. Jamie got up, she presented slides which showed this
Okay.
is what you have to do. And I see everybody shaking their head yes over there.
Well, I just didn't get it, so
okay.
I've asked for it, so, sorry.
Sorry, but
If
yeah,
you're
we.
right, then that's fine,
Yeah.
but I just don't have it, I've asked for it.
Okay.
So thank you. We'll get it. And then at the same time, if that company is representing us, it would be nice to have some thoughts back to understanding those concerns. I guess we'll talk about that, the meeting you're talking about, Kim. So, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Had to catch up.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Kopp.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one item. On the Senate Bill 180, as you all know, it restricts the city's ability to pass land development regulations, comp plan amendments, and policies and procedures as set forth in the statute. And there is some statewide litigation in the works led by the same firm we hired for the Form 6 litigation, Weiss Sirota in Southwest Florida. There is a flat fee to join this litigation, and basically the point would be to make some constitutional arguments about the legality of Senate Bill 180 and perhaps get another injunction with respect to the state's ability to regulate us in that way. So if the council is interested, I just need to know and get the authorization to pay the flat fee of $10,000 as well as potential appeal fees, which are $5,000 each. So it's a potential total of $20,000. Or if we are not going to participate, that's fine too. Just need to know what the council desires to do.
Councilman Bagby.
Well, I was going to answer Kevin's question, but I'll make the motion to approve, direct staff to approve the $10,000 and two $5,000 appeal contributions to the Senate Bill 180 litigation fund.
Okay, and just to be clear, that would be to approve Resolution 2025-16, which does that.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
what I'm motioning.
All right, I got a motion, I got a second. Anyone else for discussion? All right, seeing none. All right, we can open the vote.
Mr. Mayor, just while you're voting.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, it was brought up, I believe, by Mr. Destin, that Santa Rosa County had some media coverage about what they were doing, reached out to the county administrator, had a good conversation with him. They are, like us, are in the middle of a land development code rewrite, and he said they're pressing on and kind of let the chips fall where they may. If they get a challenge, they'll deal with it, but they're moving forward with it. I did mention to him about this potential, this lawsuit that's being filed, and he provided me his county attorney information, which I got to Ms. Kopp, and they have reached out, and hopefully they're going to consider joining this suit as well. And I've also had similar conversation with Commissioner over in Walton County that hopefully they're going to consider it also.
All right, thank you, sir. Ray, are we good with the vote? Thank you. All right, ayes have it 7-0, so moved. All right, anything else? Scott?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, appreciate that. Public comments? Yep.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey.
Everybody's tired.
There you go, just name and address, and the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, my name is Gary Saunders. I live at 719 Cardinal Circle. I'm at the extreme south end of Spring Lake. So essentially what I need is some clarification. Wednesday, I submitted a concern through the Destin website about ecological health of Spring Lake. I have torpedo grass growing. You can't kill it. You can kill it, but it comes back. You can't get rid of it. It's sleek rush grass and a lot of algae in the lake. And the only reason I know what torpedo grass is because last year, we've lived there since 2014. And for all those years, nothing. In 2022, 2023, torpedo grass started popping up right in front of my pier, and I've got the largest lot at the south end of Spring Lake. So I called lake doctors, Lake doctors came out. I mean, you couldn't really even get in the water. There was so much grass there. It just took over. So they came out for 20 minutes of work, cost me $500. They sprayed. They come back after 2 weeks to check to see if anything else is still living. They got to spray again. They did that. They had to spray again. Then they come back 2 weeks later after that just to see if there's anything else still living, and they'll spray again. So I did that last August. Last Wednesday, when I submitted my concern to the city, Lake Doctors was there again, treating in front of my pier, because as I said, you can treat it, it'll die off, but it's going to come back. And the way Lake Doctors technicians explain it, there's these little like grass seeds that permeate throughout the water, then they sink, and then they'll start propagating. So there's a lot of this torpedo grass around the lake, but the majority of it is down in the south end. But if you look at Spring Lake from Kelly Street, you'll see this torpedo grass growing along the shoreline. So I did some research of my own, and well, first let me say this. So I submitted my concern, and within 5 minutes I got a call from the code compliance, a young lady named Cammie. She said, "Sir, I got your concern. I'm going to submit it to my supervisor. We'll be back to you very soon." Within 10 minutes, I got a response. She said, "My supervisor said that it's a private lake, that the owners on the lake are responsible for maintaining the water." And at that time, I didn't know what to say. So I just said, "Okay, thank you." So then I thought about it for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then I called Cammie back. And I said, "Cammie, could you please have your supervisor contact me? I've got some direct questions. I want to talk to him on the phone." Well, I didn't get a call back, but I did get an email from him later that said that the torpedo grass and the other invasive grasses, the rush grass, and the algae problem is the homeowners' problems that live on the lake. And it's a private lake. So I did a little research on my own, and I'm thinking, it's a private lake, then why is there public access at Kelly Street? Because I see, we've been there since 2014, and I've seen people pull up with a truck bed, take off a John boat with a trolling motor, put it in the water, people with canoes, stand-up paddle boards, kids playing in the water, dogs playing in the water. There's 2 benches right there for people to sit on while these things are taking place. And so I'm thinking it's a private lake. So a little research of mine, I found out that private lakes such as Diamond Lake, Seascape, Regatta Bay, Kelly Plantation, Sandestin, and Destiny, they have homeowners associations. And these homeowners associations, these people do pitch in. I guess that's part of the HOA requirements, and they pay to do whatever they do. I'm assuming it's lake doctors, because my technician said they do a lot of lakes around here. He said, but it takes everybody on that lake to say, we want all the lake treated. Well, all I can take care of is my little section at the end. And if that's what it's required that I have to do in the future, then that's what I'll have to do. But what I wanted tonight was some clarification on why is my lake a private lake? And if I've got public access, and I got to pay, or everybody on that lake has to pay to have it maintained, can we get Kelly Street blocked off so so it is a private lake? So we don't have people coming onto my lake. I mean, how much of that lake is mine? Can I go out there and can I get a survey and stake off how much is mine and keep people from fishing, swimming, and boating in it? I mean, I don't want to have people coming down there around my property. It's like my house is sitting on my property. It's private. I bought that land, I bought the house. I didn't buy the lake. It was beautiful when I moved in the house. It's not my fault that invasive grass is now growing, but it is there. So I just want to find out whose responsibility is it to maintain that lake that's supposedly private but has public access.
I appreciate you being here, sir.
Could we get him in touch with Captain Jim Green? Somebody, maybe, because I understand it's a different lake, but he took the Kellaire Lake, which also has an access off of Main Street, and I think he took it by the bull by the horns and worked on something at that lake, and I think that would be a good start. Maybe he's one of our committee board members as well, so I don't know, just a thought. Just the next step maybe to help. He might have some ideas too.
I just want clarification, because in 2 weeks, lake doctors are going to come back and see what didn't die from Wednesday's treatment, treat it again. And 2 weeks after that, they're going to come back again. But I caught it early this time. But I can tell you right now, from where it was last year around my pier, it's grown out from there. Grass is sprouting up a lot further out from my pier. And when they come, they have a little small boat that they go to Kelly Street and put in the water so they can use their trolling motor and come down to my pier from what they can't reach with their waders on, getting off of my pier and spraying. They come down by boat, and they're going to have to do that next treatment. They didn't do it this past treatment. He just sprayed what he could reach. But next 2 weeks, he's going to come back in his boat and reach that grass that's growing further away from my pier. So it's just going to keep going and going and going.
Yep, point taken. And with that, if you can hold out to afterwards, I was going to say, me and the city manager, we can speak to you one-on-one after that. We typically do 3 minutes, but I wanted to make sure you sat here all night. I wanted to make sure you got all the minutes you could. But yeah, point taken. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hi, Gary Troop, 86 Shira Street, and I'm probably not going to be here next month, so I just want to say something about what Mr. Bagby was saying, and I think Ms. Trummell as well, is that thing about, if you sell your boat for more than 10% of that NADA, or whatever that is, that there's some type of issue with that. You can't, I guess, and retain the medallion. But, when you think about this problem, we're talking about people are building businesses. This is what it's all about, right? And so when you build a business up and you want to sell it, it's really not based on the value of the boats. It's the revenue stream that's been coming in, and you've created this business and you have reviews and things. And the other thing is that, and so I'm just saying this because if this comes back up and I'm not here, I want to say my piece now. And, it seems to be more geared towards pontoon boats, but that's not the business I'm in. And so if I'm in a bigger boat and I put, 2 diesel engines in and new avionics or electronics in a boat, that's going to be worth a lot more money than maybe just the average one that's in good shape. A lot more money. And so if there are people that come back and want to put this provision in, there at least needs to be something in there that say, I can have an independent appraiser come in and say that model doesn't apply to my boat because I spent a lot of money on generators and engines and things. I mean, it's much more complicated than a pontoon boat, and I think they're thinking about that in that sense, and I'm going to get caught up in it. And also the same thing with the business, If I get a very successful business going, it's not the value of the boat that I'm selling, it's the business, okay? And I don't know how you're going to separate those. When you think about whether it's a corporation or a partnership, it gets very confusing, because I can sell the stock in a corporation for whatever I want, and how much of that's the value of the boat. So don't get caught up in that by trying to, maybe fix a small problem and creating a bigger one. So anyway, that's my comment about that. My second one is, I was just curious, on Old Highway 98, I think kind of across from the Seahawks Hotel, there's this new big black pole. What is that?
5G.
5G.
And how does,
Right by the exit of Destiny East also.
Yep.
so how does does the property owner have any say? 'Cause it's in the right of way, and you guys can just say, go ahead and put that big ugly antenna there?
We aren't doing it. It's not
Oh, Mike.
They did the same thing on Indian
We-
Trail
yeah.
a few years ago, and there was we talked about it, and they can basically just do that. They can literally
Okay.
come in, do the permit, and then they can put it.
Who do they ask, the county or what?
Probably state lobbyists coming in because it's a communication
It just says you
firm.
can put them anywhere in the
Yep,
right
our
of
good
way?
Republicans that out it.
As long as it's in public right-of-way, that's a state mandate.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Gary.
I think that's it, thanks.
Thank you for being here.
That kills it.
Okay, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. All right, anyone else? Ms. Bell, you good? All right, with that, meeting adjourned.